7, 6, 5, and we are live here on YouTube. On YouTube, y'all. Hey, welcome to everybody. Welcome to the Maurice Dope channel. And you already know the name of the platform is called Thick Skin Only. If you ain't got
I
thick
hope this.
skin, get the hell off my feed. And it is what it is. Very controversial. Anything goes. You see the title right here: Disgusting Rat and Rodent Infested Baltimore. Whatever. You don't like it? Get off. Kindly unsubscribe me, unlike me, and unshare me. Okay, but you're gonna still troll me. And so I got two of my guests. Matter of fact, they my co-host tonight, man. This afternoon. You got Jamal Allison and you got Keith Williams, aka the Hammer, in the house.
What's good? What's good?
Yo, I'm mad as hell right now.
Why you mad?
Because I'm looking at the way YouTube arranged our video feeds. I don't
What's
like
wrong
it.
with it? You don't like it?
No, I don't, because I'm all the way on the right? Why couldn't they put me in the middle? At least we'd have had a proper Oreo going on.
Yeah, a little Oreo going on here, dude.
Yeah,
Yo, I
this
don't
shit
want to
here,
do. I
this
don't
is
want to do
like,
no Oreos with you two motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you that,
I know,
Stop it, Jay.
but see now we got some kind of vanilla wafer flavor flip sandwich fudge pack.
goddamn. And we ain't gonna talk fudge pack either with you motherfuckers. I ain't with that.
Good Lord, good Lord.
Oh my God.
Cheers,
Yo,
fellas.
man, I'll tell
Cheers.
you what. Yeah, we got it. Yo, let's have a drink. All right, this is from Piney Country down in South Jersey, all the way out to my boy over there in Peoria, someplace fucking Illinois. Damn. And then Maurice, I'm going to say this. Maurice ain't even from a state. That motherfucker's from a state of mind.
Boom.
Yeah. You know. Hey, we got the
Yo,
wrong
I got.
on here, you know.
Well, here's what I wanted. Listen, I wanted to ask this question for a friend. This is for a friend. I'm gonna ask this question for a friend. And
Yeah.
since listen, you know what? You know the Democrats, right? But I'm gonna play Democrat right now. Since you're my two black friends,
Black friend.
I'm gonna have to ask you this question. Cause you can't just be my friend. Everybody has to know that Hammer has black friends. So I wanted to start this show off to let everybody out there, especially that dude, what's his name, down there in Maryland, that actually have black friends. So
Yeah.
if I do decide to come to Baltimore, which we are going to discuss this, I'm coming with black friends. Now, here's my question.
Who you calling black?
Here's my question. Damn it, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all.
Listen,
Don't
get me a
apologize.
cow yoke. No, please, give me a couple chains, a shackle, put a cow yoke on my neck right now.
Your black ass is
But
in
here's my
bondage.
question. Yo, did you see them dummies, them white guilt people, right? But here's the thing with Democrats. Everything with Democrats is signaling. Listen, they don't want you. Listen, they tell you that's my black friend.
Yeah.
First off, listen, it's just like I was making a joke earlier at breakfast because I got banned on Facebook because I used the word tranny. Now,
Oh yeah.
remember? Now here's the thing. No tranny got upset by this. The trannies were like, "Oh my God, Hammer's a champion of the LGBT community. Look at him telling the truth." Trannies have, the trannies were out there going, "He's finally revealing our contribution to this great democratic republic. One of the greatest members of the FBI was a tranny. The world needs to know, so we'll get our credit." It's like, but Facebook's like, shut him down. I'm telling the truth about their history. I think it's Tranny History Month.
It's almost over. They got a couple more days.
But the thing with it is, here's the thing. It's such a joke. And here's what happens. And here's my question. All right? If you lie to create a fake hate crime, is that a hate crime?
What Justice Smollett did, that's a hate crime.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
So wait. So if all of a sudden if you're the person, right here, you want to utilize what? Bigotry, racism, the greatest stigmatizing force that they have been using. First off, the word racism. It was a word that was created by the Bolshevik Revolution. They actually considered racism at that time as the difference between the rich and the poor. That the rich believed that they were superior than the poor. It didn't matter the color. They flipped the script and they've been utilizing it in another fashion. But in the end, here's what happens. So now you got these people that create a fake hate crime. Now you've got the president. He says something that everybody's been saying. You're saying it. You're saying it. But the minute that Hammer, the president, or any other person who may have just happened to have grown up in that neighborhood says it, it's racist. Right? Think about it. And here's the thing. Racism is real. It's real. It's real. It comes from every single nationality that exists. Racism is real. Just like rape is real. So you got people who are getting raped. You've got people who are suffering racism. And here's what you get. People who aren't, who fake the crime, and what they do is they create a situation where when the real thing happens, people are like, well, is she telling the truth or is just another fake? Is he telling the truth or is just another scam? You get what I'm saying? We lost your mind.
He came
All
back.
right, here he comes. He's back. But you get what I'm saying? It's like, is it so when you have these people that are claiming these fake hate crimes, these fake sexist, these fake rapes, and all this other stuff, right? The biggest crime that's being committed is against the real victims, the honest to goodness victims of this type of behavior. And you know who they really are?
Yo.
It's the people.
Everyone.
It's all of us together.
Everyone.
To be honest with you, everybody.
Yeah, it's not just a white guy that just because he wears a red "Make America Great" hat again, he's considered to be a Nazi now by the Nazis. Okay, this guy that just committed this act of terrorism up there, and that they won't call it terrorism. I can guarantee you that man, that young man, was working for Antifa. He went in there because they're anarchists. But you know what's crazy? Here you got anarchists who want democratic socialism. Democratic socialism is actually the ultimate government bureaucracy control over your every waking moment, your every move. And yet they want to be anarchists, which is the exact opposite to prove that they are insane. And so they go out here and this guy goes and he shoots up all these people and they wait to tell us his name until after they scrubbed all his social media off the web, so we can't find out what his political views or none of that, because they don't want us to use it to fight their propaganda. They're going to use this as propaganda. Now, we were just talking about this. Wasn't there same time this shooting happened in California? In New York City, we got a mass shooting incident up there that nobody's talking about.
Fuck. Yo, fellas.
What's up with that?
Y'all hold the fort. I got a very important phone call. I got to run up the street. My son called me. I'll be right back. Y'all keep this going.
Yo, you better go take. We gonna be talking for a minute because we're gonna go over some stuff.
Yeah. We are.
Okay. I'll be right back.
All right, man.
Fuck.
All right. But anyway, go ahead, bro.
I hope everything's all right, man. Because I know where he's at is really, and this is really one of the biggest problems that we have, is that the people that really care, and a lot of times people refuse to accept this, but the ones who really care are people like Donald Trump. Because when you love somebody, when you really care, when you really want to help somebody get past a problem in their life, you don't mollycoddle a drug addict. About it. You got someone in your family who's a drug addict. You're not going to help them if you help feed into their denial. They have to face their problem head on. And see, when we have these problems that we have in this country, a lot of times the greatest obstacle that we have is denial. And the Democrats feed into that denial. Right now, they utilize the media and social media. They scrub this guy's account so that we won't even know what the truth is about this guy.
Yeah.
But that's really irrelevant because it's taking attention away from much more important issues that are going on right now. But what do we got going on? Huh? We got Elijah Cummings and all these other people coming out, and they're coming after Trump, saying that he's a racist because he cares enough to tell the truth. The truth that nobody in Baltimore denies. The only ones in Baltimore who are denying what's going on in Baltimore are the elected officials and the community, quote unquote, leaders. None of the people that are suffering in Baltimore are denying the facts of what he said. The only ones who are people like Elijah Cummings, who are responsible for the situation that you have in that community. Yeah. It's pretty sad, and what's worse is here you got, look, let's go down some real quick statistics. So Elijah Cummings, okay, and all these other people, they want to talk about all this racism and all this other stuff. You know what I call racism? You know what I call racism? Here, I'll give you an example of racism. Do you know how much money that we gave the federal government under the Obama? Listen to me now. Now, the Obama stimulus package.
Come on.
How much money do you think that Baltimore received from the Obama stimulus package? Now, wait. Before we go into that figure.
Come on.
Before we go into that figure, let's talk about what problems that they face that they need money to overcome. Okay, now let's look at this. So you go over here. All right. Okay. There's an article right now out there, and they actually call Baltimore a quote unquote a dystopian wasteland. I call it a dystopian playground for the evil. Because here's the deal. Okay. They say that the reason that the conditions exist in Baltimore, in this article, this guy, he prefaced a premise that the reason that the Baltimore citizens are experiencing all of the issues that they're experiencing is because the elected officials have turned their back on their constituency. Now I'm reading this and I think to myself, bro, it's much more basic than that, because when you look at the statistics that come out of Baltimore, you have to realize that it's not that the Democrats have turned their backs on their respective constituencies. They've turned their backs on their respected elected responsibilities. Their responsibilities is not to cater to their constituents. It's to defend their constituents and try to build that community up and try to do something positive in the community. Everything they're supposed to do is supposed to be positive for the community. So if you have a president who is trying to enact policies on a national level that are going to build up the communities of this country, you would expect our elected officials to support that president. But instead, we have the opposite. And that's why right now, when you look in Baltimore, 25%.
Okay.
Now, this is 1 out of 4 people in Baltimore lives under poverty level. You got citizens that say that they actually despair is a way of living. Despair is not a way of living. That's an existence. That's not living. Okay, I'm sorry. And it's not living, especially when you're in a city. And here's the statistics. If these people, they want to call it racist, to speak the truth, when 14 neighborhoods have a lower life expectancy than the citizens of North Korea. 8 worse than the citizens of Syria, which is blown apart. The people have scattered to the winds, okay? They were, in 2018, they were ranked highest in homicide in the United States. Do you understand? They went to 30 different schools and they couldn't find 5 kids that were proficient in arithmetic, okay, or or reading. And reading, they just like the old Saturday morning special used to say, is fundamental. Reading is fundamental. You know, they did a study and they found that in this one prison,
Yeah.
where if you read books, for every book that you read, they took like 3 days off your sentence. So you got all these motherfuckers in there, man, reading books. I mean, sitting reading books, and guess what happened? Their recidivism rate dropped considerably. The number at which, for those who don't know what that means, especially if you're from Chicago, you might not know what the recidivism rate means. Well, you probably do, because here's the deal: if your whole life's existence is revolved around
Right.
crime, you'll know words like recidivism. Because when you go into court, they're going to call you a recidivist, and you're going to realize after a while that that's a repeat offender. And so they lower the repeat offender rate just by introducing books into their life, reading into their life. And so, and here's the thing: Baltimore is number 6 most rat infested city in the United States. Number 6.
The West Side of Chicago is rat infested.
The top 10 most rat infested cities in the United States are run by Democrats. Okay?
Rat.
So, when you look at what's going on and you look at the way our Democrats perform when they get to D.C., you have to understand that in the end, who are they really working for? Are they working for the citizens of Chicago, or are they actually just helping to feed the rats because they're just a bunch of rats to begin with? Is it? Think about it. Because the ones who are actually having the best life are the rats in all those cities, not the citizens. So Democrats, they want to come out and they want to talk about racism. I think, would you say it's racist if you prefer the company of rats over the company of your own people? Huh? Now, here's what I want to say to you. With all the things that are going on in Baltimore, under the Obama stimulus package, $1.8 billion. $1.8 billion came from the federal government to the city.
Yeah.
What they do with the money. This past winter, you know, and this shit, see, and this is one of those things, bro. These people can say what they want. I grew up in a neighborhood. I have a love for my country. I have a love for black people, not like that dumbass that actually wanted to act like he wants to be black. Because even from the earliest age, I realized that I'm born who I am, and you can't take that away. But you can't take away the truth either. And when you look at what's going on, they paid $1.8 billion to Baltimore, and that's just one of all the cities around the United States that are run by Democrats that leech all that money from Democrats, right? Damn, I lost you over here.
No, I'm good. You ain't lose me. I took my face off for a second. You good. I'm right here.
But now, if you're paying attention, what just happened with Iran? Iran just now captured a British naval vessel. Not just a damn oil ship. They done captured a naval vessel. Now, do you know how much money that Obama gave Iran? Come on, do you know?
Ooh, wait, it's on the tip of my tongue. He gave him. See, people don't talk about that.
$1.8 billion in cash and gold, unmarked, on pallets and barrels, so it very well could have been more. But he also gave them $150 billion in other reliefs and aid. Now, Who do the Democrats care about more? The black kids in Chicago
Mm-hmm.
or the guys over there in Iran? How come when Barack Obama, who just so happens that Valerie Jarrett is what? Iranian.
Oh
She's
my God.
Iranian born. She's Iranian born. Now, here's another little tidbit that a lot of people don't know. Nancy Pelosi, she's a congresswoman from where? What city and what state?
Hold on.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. If you walk on the sidewalk, you could either step in a pile of human poo-poo or stab yourself in the foot with a needle. And I'm going to say it's not Los Angeles or San Diego, even though it could happen in both those cities too.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. I can't see the chat stream, but if this is live and anyone's watching it,
Somebody flash it in the chat room.
Answer.
Flash it in the chat room, somebody. San Francisco.
And what's her name? Miss Nancy Pelosi. Now, guess who happened? Now, let me ask you a question. How does Nancy Pelosi's people from San Francisco end up, how does her, I think it was her actual son, ends up the mayor of Baltimore? Now, he's not currently the mayor of Baltimore, yes, but for a quite extended period of time, here's a guy that ain't from Baltimore. See, my family is from Baltimore. So I got a guy tells me I better not come to Baltimore when I come from Baltimore. Long before you boy. Yeah, and if I do come there, believe me, I don't need anybody to come there with me. Black, white, Puerto Rican, and Chinese, I'll come on my own and bring your long-haired ass and see what happens. But that's the whole thing, bro. I give a shit more about what's going on in this community than they do. Otherwise, they could see exactly how they're being manipulated. It's a shame. It's a shame. Now here, you, me, we have a conversation, right? And then you leave off of here and you go to talk, and someone gonna call you an Uncle Tom.
Of course.
They're gonna say you they're gonna call Jermaine Uncle Tom, right? I must be Tom. But let me ask you a question. Do you know what I've known from the earliest age growing up in the neighborhood?
Okay.
Here, you know the easiest way to recognize an Uncle Tom?
The easiest way to recognize an Uncle Tom, which was the real Uncle Tom from the history of Uncle Tom? Because when you come in contact with an Uncle Tom, okay, now, and I should know, because I'm white, right? So, if white people, any black people that are in my life must be Uncle Toms, because they work for me. Must be.
So I must know the easiest way to recognize them, right?
I'm a house nigga. That's what they call me.
Yeah, but you know how they know? Now, really, let's stop all this facetiousness. The reality of it is, the easiest way to recognize an Uncle Tom is look for the guy who's pointing his finger at the other guy who's black, calling him an Uncle Tom. It's the person that's pointing the finger is the Uncle Tom every single damn time. The easiest way to recognize one is the first thing that they say to you in the face of all the facts that you can lay on them about the city of Baltimore, right? And then here's what happens. You got people like Al, and I call him, his last name's Sharpton, right? So I gave him a new middle name. You know what his new name is?
Bring it.
It's like, if he was in the mob, they would call him Al Butterknife Sharpton. Because that's about it. He's about as sharp as a butter knife.
Butter knife.
He shows up. The outrage started. They've already had, listen to this. They already had off of these tweets, all of these offended black folk over in Baltimore who are the ones that are responsible for the blight that exists in their neighborhoods. All these community leaders, the people that came out and they go, we've been asking him to help us. Well, you got a $1.8 billion slush fund that just evaporated. I noticed that you went from wearing a seersucker goddamn bow tie to a silk bow tie made in Mecca. Where'd the $1.8 billion go? Did you donate that to Iran? Because here's the thing. The only ones that are living a life of luxury in Baltimore are the rats and the politicians.
Oh, snap. Somebody want to come up here and argue. I see one in the chat room. They're like, oh, wait, let me in. He want to argue.
Yo, here's the thing. Here's the thing I'm going to say to you. If you're going to come in here, just because you got an ass full of shit doesn't mean you're going to have a mouth full of knowledge. When you come in here and you want to have a debate or a conversation, you can at least be loaded with something between your ears, because everybody carries around a load of shit in their motherfucking stomach.
You want to come stand?
They come in and want to start talking shit. You know what I'm saying? Bring whoever you out. We already talked about this.
Somebody want to come in here and argue. I don't know this person want to come in and argue. You want to come in and dispute?
Nah, if there ain't no fit. Listen, first off, here's the deal. I bet you ain't got a face profile pic or a real name. It's probably got a little. It looked like a generic little head, little round head, right? Yeah. And underneath of it, it says Ziggy Pop, 1984.
He said, "Yeah, you sound like you're full of shit." That's what he just said.
Yeah. The problem is that when you have your head up your own ass, bro, everything you hear is filtered through shit of your own making. So as soon as you pull your head out of your own ass, what I'm saying might make a little bit more sense for you. You fucking rectal cranial infracted motherfucker. That's a scientific term for having your head up your own anus.
Oh snap! They got two people want to come up. Oh snap! Oh yeah.
Of course they do, because we triggered them with facts.
We did trigger them with facts. That's what it is.
They're triggered. They ain't got nothing. They ain't got nothing for the conversation. They're gonna come on here and they're gonna say, "You're a racist." Now, if you come on with those facts, listen. And I said it. This is the whole reason we did this video, because here I look up facts, but you don't want to hear them. Now, I could have looked all these facts up and then sent them to him. And Mo, what did I say? I said, listen, I'm not going to give you any of this information. I just want to bring it onto the show and see the reaction, didn't I? And it's all stuff. Listen, right now you had Ilhan Omar came out and she said some of the dumbest shit that you ever could say, because like they try to equate they say that white men are responsible for more death and murders across this country than anyone else, when the reality of it is by government freaking statistics that come from cities, which are being reported on. And even those reports you can't rely on when they're coming from someplace like Baltimore, where they don't give a shit about a young black man who gets shot in the street. In Chicago, the other day, now here's what's really funny. They say that Chicago is rough on black folk, right? The other day you were there. What happened to you? You said something to a policeman, that you were being friendly to a policeman, but you had a couple drinks. And just because you were being friendly, he didn't know how to take it. And he said, "Are you drunk?" And he took you into the station for being a friendly black person. Now, you didn't get arrested, did you?
Nope.
Now, what happened to old boy who they jumped him in the park and kicked his dog, and he pushed him away from his dog?
He was charged.
And what color is he? He's half American Indian. He's a Vietnam veteran, and they kicked his service dog. And all he did was shove the guy away with one hand to get away from his dog. And the cops watched the whole thing, waiting for him to do something, and arrested him. So tell me again how Chicago, it's really sick. Now you got over here Jussie Smollett. He actually commits a hate crime in Chicago.
He did.
He creates a hate crime. And what does that do? It took attention away from the real murders. You got how many murders in Chicago? The only city that's beaten Chicago in murders is freaking Baltimore. It took right? Away from the real murders.
Yeah.
You got how many murders in Chicago? The only city that's beaten Chicago in murders. Oh, now I'm hearing Baltimore. I'm hearing me through you. Mute that.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm getting an echo. But
You're
But
good.
it's
I
true.
sent the
And
link.
so
They want to come on.
they spent all that money investigating a fake hate crime, and you know how many innocent people are dead in Chicago, and they're not spending any time even trying to investigate or find the murderers. Do you know what the homicides freaking conviction rate is in Chicago? When
No.
you look at the number of murders, they're not even bothering to look. They just don't care, and yet they got these people convinced that people like Al Butterknife Sharpton loves their community. He loves your community. Let me say this: when he brought Tawana Brawley out, making all them fake rape accusations, he did more harm to the black community than a real rape against a real innocent person. Oh, we got a sick atheist that wants to join us, huh?
This gonna be fun.
A sick
Well,
atheist,
he
huh?
already gave himself
You a
away
sick Bible?
with his
Are you a
name.
sick Bible believer?
Oh, he pro-black.
Yo,
What's
I'm a
up,
sick
y'all?
truth believer. See, if you're
You a sick
already
truth
wanting to
believer?
come in here and dispute, if you want to come in here and dispute anything that was said, you've already given yourself away as being an idiot. So you could be a sicko atheist all you want, but you might as well preface that with an ignorant sicko atheist.
Okay, so you want to take it? You want to take it to theological? We can do that right now, and you can explain to
Yo,
me. You can explain to
that's
me.
the
You can
best
explain
part.
to
Yo,
me.
that's
You can
the
explain to
best
me.
part about an ignorant motherfucker. They automatically believe that they have some kind of theological superiority over someone who is
I'm
obviously
asking you a
their
question.
superior.
You asked? You said, what do I want to talk about? I'm asking what you want to talk about, because you just brought the fact that I'm an atheist.
No,
I ain't
you're the
doing
one
nothing
that
for all
jumped
that.
on this motherfucker.
But that's what you
You
want to talk
obviously
about.
got a point. Make your
If you
point.
zoom right in on
Don't
the
look.
fact that I'm
You're
an
doing
atheist,
what? Yo, you just did.
you're triggered.
You
You're
just did
triggered. My
exactly
screen
what.
name just
Yo,
triggered
you
you.
you
My
ain't.
screen
Yo,
name just
you ain't
triggered you.
trigger me.
My
Oh my
screen name
god.
just triggered you. You started losing your mind back there because you believe in walking zombies and little sky daddies all up in the air, spraying
Oh
magic
my
and dust
god.
all over the fucking world so they can sit up here
Come
and
on, bring
worship
it.
them and
Because
pray
you ain't
Okay,
triggering me.
this some
okay,
No,
okay.
you're gonna make
after
yourself
life
look
and shit. And I
stupid.
don't believe in that crap. Now, if you want to sit up here,
No,
if you want
no,
to
yo,
explain to
where
me
I want you
how
came
your
on
desert
here
dwelling, if you want to
because
explain to
something
me
I
how your
said.
desert
Listen,
dwelling
I am
fairy
minding my
tale,
business.
if you want to
Yo,
sit
you gotta
you're
mute him.
triggered, since you're
Mute him so I can
triggered,
get a word in
if you are
edgewise.
triggered, if you want to explain to me how your
Hold on.
desert dwelling fairy tales actually is real, we can do that. But if you
Go
want to keep
ahead.
on what you
Now
were
you
talking
want to
about before, we
divert
can do
from
that.
your. First
Listen,
off,
I'm well rounded
you
like
see how
that.
you
I'm a
can't
jack of all
have a
trades. So whatever it
conversation
is
with a
you want to
motherfucker
talk
like this.
about, we can talk about. You
You can't
ignorant
listen. I
motherfucker.
want to
You
talk
dumb,
about
ignorant
whatever brought
motherfucker
your
who
dumb
can't even.
ass into our conversation. I want to talk about whatever brought your dumb ass into my conversation. I'm not triggered. You cracked me the fuck up. You want to talk theological, and you couldn't even. You want to flip it. See how he turned it around? He wants to bring it to sicko atheist because he's all loaded for whatever fake theology he's got loaded up to talk about desert philosophies and shit. Who gives a fuck? We're not talking about religion here, you asshole. This conversation is about the truth about those communities. And you came on, and this is the thing, into our
And
conversation.
all I had to do was come up, show up with my
No,
screen
you
name,
ain't got
and he got
nothing. You ain't
triggered.
bringing
And
no
he got triggered.
question.
I want
You
y'all
ain't
all to
bringing no
see how this
observation.
white dude got
You ain't
triggered, and all I
bringing
did was
nothing.
show up with
You
my
ain't
screen
brought
name. I
nothing.
didn't even present an argument yet, and he's already triggered. All
Because
he
you
did
don't
was take
have
my
what,
screen
yo,
name and
you're
lost his
calling me
mind. I want
triggered.
everybody to
You're
know
calling
something.
me
The
triggered
black
when all
guy
I did
got the
was
white
talk
guy
about your
triggered
name.
and didn't even have to say nothing.
You're
The
so
black guy
fucking
got the white
retarded.
guy triggered
You're
and he didn't
so
even have to
fucking
say nothing.
retarded
I want
that
everybody to
you
peep. I
actually,
want everybody to
because
peep what's
someone
going
said,
on right
listen,
now.
check this out. If I yell faggot
That
in a fucking
bullshit don't hold
crowded
me up.
subway, are you
Now,
going
if
to
you're ready to
answer?
have a conversation, we can have a conversation. If you want to hoot, now which one you want to do? You want to have a conversation or what? Do you want to have a conversation or what? Oh, he's muted. Okay. Now we can have the conversation. Now let's get into what he was actually talking.
All right, my bad. I had my mic off. Everybody can kindly cut their mics back on, and we're gonna do this again. What's up, Miss Legit? My bad. I had my mic off.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. All right. Right now I just want to have a discussion, all that, because a lot of times, what, we all calm down. We all got different opinions and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna stay long. I just had a couple things I just wanted to say about some things I heard.
Okay.
That were being mentioned. That are very interesting to me. First of all, as far as Trump and this whole Baltimore thing.
Okay.
If you're going to want to bring up things about Baltimore and whatever crime rates, this, that, and the other, then also talk about the Department of Justice report that was done on Baltimore that actually showed that within it was a small area, however many mile area in inner city Baltimore, that over it was a short few year period of time, but there were over 300 plus thousand pedestrian stops, not vehicle stops, pedestrian stops, in which those cases only turned out that there was any type of illegal thing found on people, something like less than what 10% of the, I want to say it was maybe even 9% of the time, or even less than that. They put out a report showing just how racist Black people are handled in Baltimore, that showed that, all of these types of crime statistics, it didn't reflect the report that the Department of Justice put out. So if you're going to talk about Baltimore being so awful, so terrible, also talk about how Black people have been profiled and targeted in their own communities, in which they did not find anything on anybody. And in fact, it is more likely to find contraband on white people than it is Black people. The next thing I want to say is Trump has so much to say again about Baltimore. But I noticed that Trump, he loves to talk about shithole countries, and in this case, rat and roach infested, or whatever he said, disgusting places, talking about Baltimore. But why is it that he never calls out all of these horrible areas all across this country that are white areas, that have high
We have
crime
called
rates?
them out.
Allow me to finish, please. That
Okay.
have high
All right,
crime rates, that have high drug rates, that have all of these things going on. He doesn't call those people out because those are his supporters. You have a huge issue in this country right now with meth and heroin, which is overwhelmingly white people. The three states with the highest rates of drug abuse are Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. All states that have minuscule Black populations, but nobody is running around calling them out. Here's the next thing. So you want, people want to talk about Elijah Cummings in Baltimore. And let me say this first before people try to make assumptions. I don't support Democrats or Republicans. I am not pro-Obama. I am not pro no damn Elijah Cummings. I am not pro the Democrats at all. It's two sides of the same damn coin. So let me make that clear. I'm not no social justice warrior. I'm none of the above. I'm kicking straight facts. Now, here's the thing. When you look at the poorest states in this country, guess what? They are also the most Republican states in this country. Alabama and Mississippi consistently top the list of the most Republican states and the poorest states in the nation.
But their cities,
hold on.
are
And on
Democrat.
top of that, no, they're not.
Yes,
No,
they are.
not.
They're
No,
local,
they're not.
local Democrats, man.
Hold on, no. Let me finish. Overwhelmingly, as I said, they're the most Republican states in the nation. These are states that have Republicans on every level. You may find a Democrat here and there. You may find a Democrat here and there, but overwhelmingly, they are Republican states. Those are red states, overwhelmingly. So how come nobody's taking accountability for that? Because here's the thing. You had the United Nations come into Alabama and say that in the Black Belt region in Alabama, they found hookworm there, something you only find in the poorest of third world countries. It is literally unheard of to find hookworm in a non-third world country. It is
In
literally
California,
unheard.
in California, it has the
What?
bubonic. It's starting to get the bubonic plague.
And guess what? The Republican politicians that have been historically in those states have not done a damn thing about it. The Republicans in Alabama have not done a damn thing about it. You have people drinking feces down there because of the failings of the municipalities, the failings of the state, and most of them are Republican run, as I said. So if you're going to tell the whole story, or if you're going to tell the story, tell the whole story. Talk about Trump need to be calling them out. Trump need to be talking about Mississippi, Alabama. He needs to be talking about Kentucky. The place in this country that has the highest rate,
he call out.
the place in this country that has the highest rate of food stamps, welfare, and all these other types of social problems is a town in Kentucky, and that town is 98%
he don't call out
white.
the red states.
That town is 98% white. And lastly, let me say this thing too. See, this is a trick bag that things get put in, because I notice anytime that something is brought up about whatever Trump says and all his racist shenanigans and all of this stuff.
Well, why got racist shenanigans?
People do all of these things. People do all of these things. And well, let me tell you this. His truth is very selective. His truth is extremely selective. Let me say that.
But
hold on, because you know damn well he ain't.
There's over 300 million people here in the United States, man.
I didn't ask you how many people was here.
Well, that's what you got to understand it. That's one man with 330 million people in the United States, man. You sound like a stupid. You sound so stupid right now. And also, you're bringing a race card and all that stuff, and you sound so stupid.
Excuse me. First of all,
you're bringing a race card out, man. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry. You're bringing a race card up, and I am a black man. All right. My grandfather had his house in 1963, and the nigga couldn't even vote.
Rewind the tape. Rewind the tape. We didn't bring up the race card. The race card was already brought up.
Well, that's what it sounds like. It's a race card because you're going black, white. No, man. This is about politicians, yo. This is about politicians. You can't, call out every single one.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Trump ain't a politician. He said it. He's not a politician. He's only one man.
Okay.
He's only one man. He can't say every single issue at one fucking time. I can't.
Can I finish speaking? He can call. I'm not going for it. Trump can call out whatever he wants to when he wants to. He don't have no problem calling out anything that has to do with black people. But when it comes to the poor white trash,
man, he calls out everybody, man.
No, he
calls out everybody.
No, he doesn't.
Man, he calls out everybody. That's a lie, right
I
there.
wouldn't be supportive if he didn't call it everybody. I'm a black man. I'm supportive.
That's a lie. That is a lie.
Hold on. So show me where he called out the Republicans in Alabama for the failings that the United Nations had to come in and say them people had hookworm.
Okay. When they sat there, they dissed more in the election in the Alabama in 2018 election. All right, when they sat there and dissed more.
You can't get more rat infested than having fucking hookworm in a westernized society.
What about California? Bubonic plague. California. The rats out there. Bubonic plague. All right.
You asked for an example. She gave it to you.
No, you're saying about hookworm, third world countries. Bubonic plague didn't happen since the Dark Ages.
What?
That's called the red herring.
You know what I'm saying? I'm out here. I'm out here in the Southwest, man. I know what happens out here too, and on the border.
I just want to say a couple more things, and I'm gonna get out of here because I'm not trying to do this arguing thing.
I'm not arguing. I'm gonna say I'm giving you facts.
No, you came in and cut me off.
Because you're talking stupid shit. That's why. You're talking stupid shit. I'm gonna keep funny with it.
Oh, my phone's acting up. That's why.
I'm not even mad. I'm not saying you're talking stupid shit.
Of course it
What
is.
stupid shit? You ain't
Because
debunked
you
nothing
can't
she said.
disprove.
Everything she said was facts. You ain't debunked none of it. You just started running to something else. You do what all right wing people do. Y'all pull red herrings. Y'all start saying
Hey,
what
I'm
about
sorry.
black
I'm not
lives
independent.
matter?
I'm not
Y'all talk
Republican
about
or Democrat,
around.
sir.
y'all talk
I'm
about
sorry.
everything except for
That's
the
what I
I'm not a
argument
said.
is
Democrat or
there. Y'all talk about
independent.
everything
Listen,
besides the
I'm not
guys.
a
argument
You
Democrat
got
or
me
Republican.
muted,
I'm
man.
independent, yo.
I just want
I
to ask
love
the
this tonight.
question. I want to
Thank
ask the
you.
question. Why are the poorest states in the nation overwhelmingly Republican?
Because you're
Because
making
of
up your
lazy,
Why
you
own
know
are
why?
stats.
those
Because the
states
people,
doing the
yeah,
work?
because number one is
She's not
because
making up her own
those are
stats. Look it
called
up.
minor Republicans that are no different than the Democrats. We're trying to get them out too.
Right.
All right.
So where
Well,
are
as I
y'all
tell you,
trying
you
to
don't
get
know
out?
much about the government, yo.
So where are y'all trying to get the people out of Alabama then? Who allowed that to go down? Where are y'all trying to get the Republicans out of
First off, the
Mississippi?
people
Prove
in
it.
Alabama
Prove
that
it.
made it go down are
Prove
the
it.
ones that called you. Yo, you came on right
Prove it.
with nothing. Listen, you came on and you sounded great, and then you
Yeah.
overloaded your ass with your belly button.
Huh?
You just start making
Listen,
up
you
stuff.
can't
Those are all
disprove.
that's
I
made.
made
You made that up.
what? Oh, what did I
I
make up?
guarantee I could.
What did I
I
make up?
guarantee. Listen,
What
first
did
off, the
I
only
make
ones that
up?
got the UN
Tonight.
involved in Alabama were the
I'm
very
asking.
Democrats
I'm loving it.
that caused the problem in Alabama. You said something about people were drinking water, feces water, and you know what that was? That was Detroit. I mean, come on. Come
Let me
on.
tell you.
You
Let me
just
tell you
making
something.
shit up.
She having an
Let me tell
AOC
you.
Yo, you're
moment.
going to
Talk
tell me
about
a whole lot
Alabama.
of
Let
Talk
me
shit.
about
tell you
Alabama.
I'm
She
something.
not
having
like
an
you, though.
Let me
AOC
let me
moment.
No.
tell you.
Yo,
We all
you
know
know
about
what?
Flint. We all
Hold
know
I ain't
about
on.
like you.
Flint.
I
We
Hold on,
actually
talking
baby.
about
got notes.
Alabama.
I actually
We
do
all know
real
about. We
research.
all know about.
You
We all.
came in here talking about your
Can
We,
I
suppositions
post
and your
links
we
in the
all know
chat?
bullshit.
about Flint. She was
Just like
talking
that
about
other
Alabama.
dude.
He was
Just like
talking
the
about
other dude.
Alabama,
He
not
came
Flint.
in
Hold on.
mad.
He
Wait,
was talking about
hold on a
Alabama,
second.
not Flint.
Hold on a second. Can I post links?
He came in mad and triggered.
AOC
Wait, hold on
moment.
a second. Hold on a second. Can I post links in the chat? Because of easy
Post the
Google
link.
search, easy Google search will show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
your
talking
easy
about
Google
lead
search
in
will
the
tell
water
you
in Flint. I'm
yo,
talking
check
about
this out.
hookworm in the black belt in Alabama. That's what I'm talking about. You don't know what
Hookworms
you're
have
talking
been
Let's
about.
talk
Do
about
your research.
owning a book like
Do
a
hookworms.
your
dictionary.
research. You've done no
Hookworms.
research.
Hookworms have been around forever. Where
I
you
got
been?
no research.
What?
Not in this country. It hasn't been. No.
Hookworms is found in third world countries. What are you
Yo, this
talking
girl
about?
just
Yeah, this
making shit
country.
up. I got a whole notebook full of research, but
What
we
are you
don't do no
talking about?
research.
You
She
don't
I'm
know
over
always,
here
what
with
you're
whole
talking
they
notebooks
about.
all,
full of research.
She's presenting her evidence.
Hold on.
You presenting
Let
the
me just
notebook.
prove.
She's
Let
citing
me just
sources.
prove all of this wrong. Let me
This
just
guy's
prove
lit,
all this
man.
wrong.
She's
We're gonna
quoting
clear
her
this
air
all
shit
up.
that she done made up in her
We
imagination.
gonna clear all this up.
And I don't get where you're saying Trump has downed all the Democrats. He has put down John
First off,
McCain,
this whole
Paul
conversation
Rand.
was only about Baltimore.
He has
And then
put
all of a
down.
sudden, everybody wants to bring everything else into it. It's about Baltimore. This is about the facts about Baltimore and the fact that the people in Baltimore, the people that live there, back up what we're talking about. The politicians deny it. And so therein lies the problem. You cannot solve a problem when the problem is being denied by those who claim to be the solution. So you can't be the solution if you deny the problem exists.
and
Same thing at the
Baltimore is a
border. You
shithole.
can't
Trust me.
solve a problem.
It
All
is,
right, and
you
that's not
know.
just
And you know
Baltimore.
what?
Now she
And
brought
it's
up
a
some.
shit worm. It's a shit worm like a bunch of trailer parks, a bunch of towns, a
That's a
bunch of
shit
cities
house
across
too.
Look, man,
Mississippi.
Listen, so
That's
every white
I'm
guy,
from,
every white
As
guy's
soon
a
as it's
trailer
black
park
people in a
trash.
black neighborhood, it's a
That's
He
a
shit
don't call
house.
it
racist
out because
statement.
that's his
You's
supporters.
a bigot.
Amen.
I'm gonna call your
I don't
statement
give a
Amen.
out.
damn
You
what
a
you got
bigot.
to say. I don't care
That's a
what you
bigot
got to
statement.
say. He don't call
Of
out
course,
nothing
because
about
you're a
white
fucking
people.
racist. You
Oh,
yeah,
are a
hey,
You
fucking
can't be
racist.
racist. You
I'm
Prove
can't be
from,
it.
racist. You want to call you want to call
Typical.
You
Baltimore,
just
Baltimore
proved
is
it.
only 3
if you
hours
want to
away
call her
from
a
me,
Typical.
bigot, then fine.
from
If you
where
want
I
to
was
call her a
born
bigot,
at.
then
I
if you
got
want to
family, I
if
got
you want to
family in
call
West
her
Yo,
Baltimore, man.
if you want to call
yo,
her
at least
bigot,
the
then fine.
motherfuckers in the
But
trailer own
Hey,
that
I
shit.
want to tell you
do
what,
not
yeah,
You
call
we
her
as
own all
black
the
people
bigot.
are the
Democrat
most,
Party.
yeah, we
Asshole.
as
Okay,
black people
okay,
are the
so
most racist.
People
Okay,
can sit
That don't
here.
You
make
got
hold
you
that
on,
right.
hold on, hold
Can
on.
we
I
you
can't
talk
can be
hear.
one
a
at a
bigot,
time?
but
You
you
know what I'm
can't
saying?
be
One
We're
at a
racist.
racist
time,
against,
one at a
we're
time,
racist
one at
against,
a time.
one at a
we're
time.
racist against,
They will
we're
flag
racist
you.
against
Yeah,
ourselves.
can we
We
speak?
No, you can't be racist.
Can we speak international
Yes,
now?
yes, we
Oh
are
my
because
God!
y'all the
He
first to
knows you
go
gave
because we're the
that
first to
woman a
go off.
platform.
We can
for
be
half
bigoted.
an hour.
We can be bigoted towards ourselves. That's why I ain't say nothing.
That bigoted and racism is in the same ballpark.
Because she can't be racist. It's impossible.
Oh
Wait,
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
why can't
right. But I'm black and I'm
Hey,
not
that's
going to
the
say that.
ultimate
I'm
denial
black and
of
I'm not going to say
reality.
that, man.
That's the ultimate denial of reality. When
I
a
am
racist
black
says
and
it's
I will
impossible to be
not
a racist.
say that. All right, that black people it's impossible for black people to be racist. Man, what the fuck you saying?
You don't have a leg.
That is retarded.
We can be big.
What the fuck you
That
saying,
is
bro?
intellectually.
We can be
Man, that's some
That is
bull ass. That's some
profoundly
bullshit.
intellectually
We can be
corrupt.
What?
we
Who
can be
is
bigoted.
yelling?
We can be bigoted. We can be bigots and we can be prejudiced. We cannot be racist. Understand that.
Man, I understand
Yeah,
that.
really?
That you know what? Hey, that's fucked up. That's some fucked up shit. That's what I'm saying. That's some fucked up shit.
Excuse me. Can I
How is
just
that
say
fucked up?
something?
It's real.
Okay,
Can I just
everybody,
say
Yo,
something?
you
And I gotta
have
go.
psychological issues, bro.
Can I
listen,
say
everybody,
You got
something?
some psychological
And I
issues.
got to go.
I don't like cutting mics off, y'all. I'm gonna have to say everybody mic off. Let me talk, everybody.
Yo,
Everybody.
hey, can I say one thing though, real quick, and then I'm gonna shut up? Because I want to
Okay, Keith.
respond. I want to say something.
All
Now,
right, one minute.
that
You got 1
girl
minute.
said she did say
Everybody have 1
something.
minute.
She said something that I really want to talk about because it is an issue that I forgot. It's on my list. It's actually on my list, and she brought it up. When you have a government which is set up, state, city, wherever, and the politicians, the mayor, the police chief he appoints, these people are corrupt. You know what you end up? You end up with a corrupt police force that is incapable of managing itself. And Baltimore is that police force. It exemplifies that police force in the United States. It exemplifies one of the places where we need to go in as a community, not as black or white, but as Americans and say, this has got to stop. 3,000 pedestrian stops. And you know what she didn't say? That the majority of the police that are doing them stops are black. Thank you very much. So that's the selective shit that we're talking about. Me, I don't want anybody violating anyone. Least of all, the racist black folk that treat their own people like dogs. And then you want to
Okay, can
deny
I,
it and blame it
can I,
on white people.
Real
can
quick.
I say
And that's some bullshit.
I know me and her both share this position. We don't care what color the police are. Police is all one color,
That's
blue.
right. That's
We don't
right.
care what color the police are. So
That's
when
right.
we talk about the police, we don't care if it's a Latino, a white person, a black person, whatever. We coming after the police. Period. The unit. Because they
Yeah, but
all
see,
hold the code.
Can I
that
say
is an
something?
intellectually
Hello,
flawed
hello, hello.
approach,
Can I say
whether you
something?
agree with it or not,
Hello.
because the police are not represented by every police force that you hate. So everyone it's like
Hello.
saying it's just like you say you can't be racist when you just basically this woman here basically showed her ass at being racist and didn't care if anyone knew.
Excuse me. Can I say something, please?
Hey,
Because I
go
got
ahead.
to
You said a
go.
lot.
Excuse me. Can I say something, please?
You said that 30 minutes ago.
I'm gonna
Hey,
jump off of here.
Chill out, brother.
I'm gonna put the link to my information in the back chat about Alabama, and then also I
What
would
does
love to
Alabama got to do about Baltimore? We can only do
I
one
would
state
love
at a
to
time.
see.
I asked them all the time.
I would love to.
One city at a time, man. One city.
You want to
But
cite
we'll
her
do a
sources,
world
y'all
The
called
tour.
her a
same thing the
liar. Y'all called
bubonic
her a liar,
plague.
but she made her
The
claim. That's
same
why
the
she want to cite
same
her
thing that
sources.
the bubonic plague has to do with Alabama. Now that's what it got to do.
Okay, then
Alabama.
yeah,
I'm gonna
because
put it in the back
you
chat.
were sitting there talking about
I'm gonna put it in the back
hookworm and
chat.
shit like
No,
that.
I'm talking about the failings of Republicans, the failings of Trump supporters. Why isn't that ever brought up? That's what I was
Wait,
talking
okay,
about. No,
failing of
I'm about
Trump,
to
okay?
go.
Trump only been in for 2.5 years,
I'm
all
not
right?
gonna do
What's
this.
been happening for the past 30, 40 years inside these
I'm not gonna do this because
states,
I'm
huh?
not gonna do this
What's
Well,
been
because
happening today? You're not
I'll tell you
going to
what's been
go there,
I'll tell you
but
what's
we
been
have these,
I'm already
I,
career
I'm already
politicians that be in for
can I
30,
answer it?
40
you're
years,
very
and what
Can I
has
true.
been
answer it?
done?
I'm
Y'all
ready to
call
go
What
y'all
on
has
my
been
y'all
done?
being
Let's
Give
get
me
on
your
my
there's a
face.
lot of hooting and hollering. He don't listen, man.
He
Well,
does.
you ain't
Never
listening.
been.
This is facts.
You asked the
This
There
is
has.
question. I'm
facts.
trying to
Can you
answer it.
mute
Oh
You
my
asked the
me?
God,
question and I'm
I
trying to
cannot.
answer it. Can I answer
Trump
There
real
ain't a
has.
fast?
politician.
Can
Yes.
I answer the question that you asked?
Would y'all
Thank
be
you.
interested
Now
in
you
setting
asked
up a
what's been
debate?
going on over the last 30. You said 40 years. I can tell you what's been going on over the last 30 years.
Okay,
What's been
hold
going
on.
on
I'm gonna
is
let him talk. Let him talk. I want
what's
to hear
been
what
going on is crime in the hood has been going down consistently over the
Facts.
last 30 years.
Facts.
But if you let y'all call it,
Facts.
this is still 1988, and we
Yep.
still drive-bys going on with
Yep.
Uzis and everything else, little kids getting sprayed up. That's not the
Yep.
case. If you look at your own property,
Shit, man, out here in Vegas, and out here
Yo,
in
you
Vegas,
tell
out
that
here in
to the
Vegas,
people in
man, motherfuckers
Baltimore. Yo,
getting
tell
shot
that to
every
the
other
people in
day.
And you
Chicago.
know
ask
what?
the
All
question.
right, but
Ask the
man,
question.
you're
I'm
suffering
answering
from
it.
Oh
delusionary
You said
my
what's
grandeur,
been going
man.
God.
on. You said what's
Right.
been
That is the
going on, and
dumbest
what's been
thing I
You
heard
going
in the
said
whole
on.
conversation.
What's been going
60 and
on is a
only.
steady decline. Don't try to switch it up now, because you asked what's been
There ain't
going
no
on. I'm
fucking
Oh no, you're
decline,
the one
man.
switching up
telling
the
you,
truth,
if you
That's
man.
look at your
facts.
own
That's
FBI
facts.
statistics, go
That's
look at your
facts.
own FBI statistics. It will tell
That's
Yo,
you
I
facts.
that the
was just
crime
looking at
has
him. When's
been
the
going
last
down
time you did?
consistently over the
That's
last
facts.
30 years.
When's the
did you
last
say
time you
crime in
looked
your
at him?
And
neighborhood?
look at all of these school shootings
I
y'all
was
got. Look
just
at all
looking
this
at him
mass
last
killing
night
y'all
when I
got.
was compiling all these
You
notes
so concerned
for
Right,
about
this
and
the
look at
mass
actual
them.
shootings in
episode
Right,
Baltimore.
and
of
look at
finding
So
dumbasses
so
on
we only
YouTube.
at it
concerned
from
with the mass
19 look
shootings.
at it from 1989 to
Yes, we gotta
2019
label
and
this
tell me
video how you find
the
dumbasses on
crime is staying at
YouTube.
the same rate. Tell me if
All
crime is
you
still
can
at the
do is
same rate
throw
from now
insults because
since
you can't
1989.
disprove
You tell
anything
me.
we're saying. That's why you throwing insults. Ain't nobody called you out the name or
Shoot,
nothing. You
yeah, I
cannot
mean,
disprove anything that was said. You can't disprove
know
it.
what, man?
And
Y'all are so much up in your feelings, man. And I'm
no,
gonna
I'm
say,
We
not
stating
y'all just
facts.
act,
Y'all the
listen.
ones
no,
I got
man.
we
everybody
actually
Y'all, man,
blocked.
stating facts.
no,
We actually stating
y'all
Y'all
are
facts.
got
very
loud ass
uneducated up
mics.
in
And
your
you're using
feelings,
your
yo.
own
Y'all got
data.
loud
And
ass
you're
No,
using
mics
your
I
own
talking about
data
understand
for
you
something
you.
believe
yellow
it's
but red.
true. It's like people live in
How
what they
about
call
how about
cognitive
how
dissonance,
about if we set up a
believe that
debate?
their
Wait a
unreality
minute,
is reality
wait.
because it is
How
their
about if we
reality.
set how about if we set up a debate? That way each side can be heard.
You
That
can't
way
do a debate.
let's
You're
do it.
incapable. You are
Let's
not
do it.
intellectually
Then
equipped
you
Then it
beat
should be
for
me.
a
easy to do
debate.
it.
Then
Then
it
it
should
should
be
That's
be
real
easy
easy
to
for
talk.
do
you.
it.
The
You
fact
know,
It
that
should
you
be
think
easy
you
for
are, the
you.
fact that you think you are
It
shows that
should
you
be
are
easy
psychotic.
for you. Then it should be
You
easy
are
for
too
you.
psychologically
It
impaired to
should be
realize
You
you
easy
just
for
aren't
dropping
up to
you.
the
ad hoc,
task.
dog. You know this ain't nothing but
It
ad
should
hominem
be
attack.
easy.
You ain't addressing nothing she
Ad
said.
That's why you
hominem,
won't
you don't
debate
even know
me.
how to
On the
define the
ignorant,
word.
on saying this, that, and the third, all this other
Every
Why
stuff.
you
single
can't
thing that
debate me then?
every platform
boo-hoo-hoo,
that you
I am
support
black.
is ad
I'm
hominem.
It
being
should be easy
oppressed.
for you. It should be
Boo-hoo-hoo,
it
I'm
should be
black and I'm being
easy
oppressed. All
You
right,
for
notice
that's
the
all
you.
I
ones
hear.
who are
You
It
ain't
should
preaching
be
that
That's all
debate
I
is
easy
hear.
for
rhetoric.
Boo
you.
fucking who.
your whole purpose here is just to run interference. I don't know
This
why
should
you
be
talking,
this
Divinity,
should
Hey,
be
whatever
let
so
him
Yeah,
let
you
him
easy.
talk.
actually,
I don't know what
Debate
Italian name,
me.
whatever.
Let's set up a debate.
Let me say
Let's set
something
up
real
a
quick.
debate. Let's set up a debate. It should be easy.
Hey,
You
Miss
should be
Legit,
able to
this
spot
is the
can we
me.
do a
debate.
one-on-one talk?
Yeah,
I
This
want
easy,
to
is
easy
the
for you, black.
debate.
No.
discuss video with.
No.
You
Where there's
entered
a
this
concise
conversation, which
no.
is a
Where's
debate,
a concise
and you just
topic?
lost.
Where's a concise topic? And we
The
have time
precise
to
topic
speak
was
while the
Baltimore. What
other
did it
one's
say?
muted. While the
Baltimore,
other
not
one is muted.
Alabama.
Let's
And you
do
just
it.
said
Let's do
Baltimore.
it.
Baltimore
Let's
is
do
the
it.
issue
Let's
because of
set up
what
a debate.
Elijah
But you
Cummings
won't do
said.
it.
That
But you
nigga.
won't
And that's
do it.
exactly what I said. That nigga
Yo,
right
I'm gonna
there.
tell
Easily
you all
stop
something.
me.
Yo,
You
I'm gonna
should
tell y'all
easily
something. I
stop me,
clean my
right?
toilet
Let's
really
set up
well.
the debate.
So if I
Let's
ever get
set it up.
thirsty and I need to dip my face in my toilet and get a drink, I can do it, and I won't be afraid.
Let's set up the debate then. Let's go.
Let's set it up. I'm with it.
This
Oh my God.
It should be so easy. Stand on your
true.
square. Let's set it up.
I'll sell my shit.
You just
I,
you just entered into a debate and you want to
No, we
leave
did not.
and try to
No, we did
come
not.
back later.
Yelling
It's
and
like, listen,
screaming
if
This
you
ain't
don't
jump
argument.
into the
This ain't a
change
debate.
octagon,
Hey,
nothing.
I
if
have
you
a
jump
This
into
ain't
the
a
question.
debate.
octagon, you get
Hey,
beat the
can
fuck
I
up.
ask a
I'm
question?
talking about a formal debate.
I haven't
Formal.
said a word in like 5 minutes. Can
Okay,
I ask a
Chrissy D, hey,
question?
Formal
Go ahead,
Okay,
Christopher.
let's
Say
do
something,
it.
Christopher.
Can I ask the question?
Yeah. Ask the
Hey,
question.
Jay,
Jay, turn
hit
your
the
mic off,
mute
Jay.
because I can't. How many people were shot in Gilroy, California yesterday?
Jay, turn your mic off.
I have no idea. You want to give me a number?
I have no idea because I haven't been watching the news
I
really.
think it was 15 or
How
something like that.
how many were shot in Brooklyn, New York yesterday?
How many was killed in Chicago
I don't
yesterday?
know. You want to give me a number?
What's the numbers?
Okay.
What is it? How many?
Y'all just
Exactly.
throwing out
That's the
numbers.
thing. That's the
How
thing.
many? I'm
Everybody
asking you.
cares about.
How many?
Okay, there was
How many? How many?
There was
Answer.
If you didn't shut the fuck up and they didn't let me fucking answer, I would have
Say the number.
How many?
Oh,
I want to eat this.
oh yeah,
Go.
There was
You just
Go.
wait for a number.
12.
I mean,
man, I tell
There
you what
was
though, man.
you just
12.
wait
Why
for a
you
number.
asking questions?
There
And you ain't
was
Well,
gonna
then
get
let,
12.
it.
let her get the fucking number then. Shut the fuck up.
What you
Damn.
mean get it? Shan
There was
already got it.
12.
Shan
Because
already got it.
it's
No,
called
oh
research.
my fucking God. I
I
was
was
just,
asking a question and
Man,
why
you
you
may I
got
tell
the
you what,
fucking
man,
number.
both of y'all, man, are just uneducated motherfucking Negroes. Both of y'all.
And
Uneducated.
what
Are
are
you
you?
calling somebody
And
uneducated?
what
I
are
know
you?
you
Yes, I
ain't
am.
about it. I
And
know
what
you
are
Yes, I
ain't.
you?
am.
Look at this
Yes, I
dumbass.
am.
Are you serious?
Yes,
Are
I
you
am.
serious?
Okay, so wait,
You
so
are a
Uneducated,
wait.
retard.
boo-hoo, I'm black
You're a
So
Negro.
retard.
wait, I want to
You
hear
are a
how many.
retard.
I
You
want
don't
to
do
know
nothing
how
but
Oh
many
shit.
basketball too
homicides.
long. Shut up.
I don't give a
Yo,
fuck what
this
you
is
say,
Talk
because
exactly
what you
about.
say is
What are
irrelevant,
you
man.
talking about over
What's the
there?
number?
I don't give a
What
fuck
are you
what you
talking about
say,
over there?
brother.
DC?
What's the
Brother,
number?
you are
What's the
so
number?
into
Are
your
you
you
serious?
you are
that would be
so
Crazy.
like,
into your
that
feelings.
would be
Crazy.
like
Now you
calling
can't
us
Oh
even
having
hard
a
man,
for your white
kid.
daddy, ain't
triggered,
you?
What's the
You can't
number?
get hard for
triggered,
your white daddy, ain't you?
triggered.
You can't be hard for your white daddy, ain't you?
What's
Shut
the
your
Hey,
dumb
Now,
oh,
you
ass
hey,
know
up.
my
what?
daddy's
Shut your
black.
dumb ass up.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna give you the
Hey,
number.
you ain't
But
got
you
no
know
white
what?
daddy.
Since
There
you
you
wanna,
go.
Shut
There you go. The
up.
racist remarks.
Shut up.
There you
What's the
go.
number,
You ain't
There
one.
you
Christy?
go. Oh,
One
you so
person
you
point straight
upset?
up there.
Oh,
You
What's
ain't
the
poor,
made one
poor
number?
point straight
baby.
up there.
Poor
You're not
baby.
you ain't even high
Poor
enough to mute your
baby.
mic
Boo
to
hoo,
say
I'm
what you want.
black.
You
Boo
don't
hoo, the
even be
white
high
man is
enough
all
to
over
mute
What's
me.
the
your mic
number?
when
Everybody's
everybody else is
racist.
talking. You dumb retard. Shut up. What the hell you talking about that?
What's
Yeah,
the
that's what I
number,
Oh,
thought. That's what I thought. Listen,
Christy?
listen, listen.
Christy,
oh.
what's
You
Nobody else
want
the
a
is talking back
cookie?
there.
number?
Here,
Nobody touching you.
you want a chicken
Everybody
bone?
touching the
Huh?
screen button.
You
What's the
want?
You ain't
Let
touching
me
number?
share
nobody
you my
else's
water.
screen but
Let me share
this.
my
I know
watermelon
that
with
much.
you.
You want your liquor.
Huh?
Shut up. What the hell is you
Huh?
talking about? Huh? That's
Oh,
what I
poor
thought. That's what
baby.
I thought. Shut your punk
Poor
ass up. What the
baby.
hell you
Hey,
over there
hey,
talking
Poor
about?
baby.
I
hey,
can't stand those
Christy.
weirdos like you. Want to get
Poor
up around white
baby.
people and want to act a
Poor
damn fool.
baby.
What the
Yeah,
hell you
I'll be.
think you over there first? I'm
Oh,
gonna
who the
yo,
hell?
yo, can I say yo?
you right in front of your white daddy and your white mommy. I will give you that work and have them laughing at you, you little clown. You think they get a fuck about you?
Oh,
You
yeah,
think they
now
get a
you're
fuck
getting
about you?
violent.
They
Now
gonna
you're
sit
acting just
back
like a
rolling
nigga.
on the floor laughing
Now
while
you're
you
Yeah,
just
but
over
at
there
acting
least
like a
I
talking
can
nigga.
over
see what
there
you
with
look
your little
like,
dumb
Blink.
shit you over there
He
talking. You
mad.
funny
He like, why
you
y'all trying to
sucking
make
gut
me look
looking
bad in front of
motherfucker.
these
What the
white
hell is you
folks?
talking about over there?
Now,
Why you
now,
think
now
you
you're
talk
now, now
about
you're
like
acting just
all
like a nigga,
tough as
man.
I
Oh,
am?
yeah, you
I'm
are.
I
mad.
got
You
I'm
are.
like,
You're
why y'all
triggered.
trying to
You're,
make me
you're,
look
you're,
He
bad?
gonna
you're,
go
you're
jump off.
Yo,
poor
what the hell is on
baby.
your mind? Talking about your
Poor
education.
motherfucking
What the
baby.
hell is you
All right,
doing,
Psycho.
the
He
bitch?
gonna
whole
do a
world is
baseball
against
jump
you.
off.
You worship
The
white people.
whole
Don't make
motherfucking
sense.
world.
Psycho.
I
Shut
worship
up.
the
He
Lord
gonna do
Jesus
the
Christ,
Psycho, he's
jump
motherfucker.
mad.
spot.
I got a question for you. Like, hold on, I got a
Psycho.
question.
What?
Psycho, he's
Bro,
mad. He like, why you making me look
no,
bad
let
in
me
front of these
interject.
white folks?
And we like white people. I love white people and I love black people. We love everybody.
There you
But you don't think we can love
Okay,
everybody?
I'm about to jump off of here. I'm about to jump off of here. But
Hey,
Oh my
hey,
Christy,
thank
God!
you.
She said
Hold on,
that about yo. He been
Christy,
jumping this whole time.
Christy, what's the number? Christy, before I go, what's the number,
You
Christy?
know what? I was gonna tell you, but since you want to fucking
What's the
interrupt me, you can
number,
go on. You
Christy?
can go
You ain't got
on.
nothing
What's
for
Go
the
that.
on
You ain't
yourself.
got
number?
nothing for that.
What's the
Yourself,
number,
Go
Miss
on,
Christy?
Chrissy.
Southern
Chrissy.
Northwestern
That's
around
going on.
here
We're
in
in the
Six,
What's
gutter.
the
Alabama.
number?
You
Man, this
just
What's
shit
the
throwing
is
out random
lit.
number?
numbers.
This
You
shit
ain't
is
got
Hey,
lit,
nothing.
wait,
boy.
What
so
is
this
You
the
ain't
thing,
got
hold
nothing.
number,
on.
Y'all just throwing
I
out
Christy?
knew it
random
was getting
information.
lit.
Y'all ain't
What
backing
is
it
the
Yeah,
up.
I got a
number,
game.
This
My
is
batteries
all
are running
Christy?
out. I'll
lit.
check you out in a minute.
Your
Christy
mind.
ain't got the number.
Motherfucking sugar ain't got
Christy
the
ain't got
number.
the number.
I do have the number. What you
No.
grab?
Christy ain't got the
Grow the
number.
fuck up.
Where's the number,
Grow
Christy?
the fuck up.
Tell me, Christy.
Go
Yo,
back to
I'm
the
texting someone
hood.
who cares.
Go back to the
No.
hood.
What a damn joke.
You're the damn damn joke. Won't you quit fucking interrupting somebody when they gonna steal your ass?
What's the number? What's the number?
You want some? Well, people were shot.
I'm gonna listen until I get cut off.
Shut the fuck up! I'm
My
telling you.
batteries are going, but I'm enjoying this shit.
You know what?
I'm enjoying this shit right here, kid.
So yeah, I was just trying to tell her the number again, and she keeps interrupting me.
We need
Oh, my
likewise.
phone's getting hot.
Take you that damn long. You don't
I'm
know
in the
how to
sun.
type
I
in
gotta get in the
Google.
chain.
You don't know. I thought
Holy shit!
Yeah,
I was just gonna give it to you again.
Too
I
loud.
was just gonna give it to you again.
I'm at Disneyland.
I was just going
Oh, this
to
shit's like too loud.
give it to you again, and you want to interrupt me.
you to type something in.
You just have to hear yourself talk. I was sitting here quietly
Yo,
for
y'all got my
7
phone on
10 minutes,
fire.
letting y'all run y'all's motherfucking
This
mouth.
motherfucker is lit.
I was sitting there quietly letting y'all get y'all's little childish, letting you and your buddy with the stupid little mask on getting your childish behavior out, and you're still going.
What's the
So go
Y'all get
ahead.
energized, everybody.
Go
Keep going
ahead.
and going and going and going and
You
going
live right now.
and going
Go
and
ahead.
going and
Sorry if
going.
my mask triggered you, Betsy. I
Just
apologize.
like an energizer buddy,
I know my
they
mask
keep
is
going
distracting
and
you. I get
going
it.
and
I
going.
get it.
Good. Bye. Go back to your hood.
Bye. Chrissy ain't got no numbers.
I have a
Chrissy
number.
ain't got no numbers.
I got your number too. You live in the hood somewhere, so go back to it.
Chrissy ain't got the number for
How you know she live in
Chicago.
the hood?
How many people got
How you know
shot?
she live in the hood?
How many people got shot,
Cause you
Chrissy?
acting like a hood rat right now. That's why.
And you acting like white trash, so I guess you live in the
Yeah,
ghetto.
and so
No, I
what?
guess you live
Maybe
in the
I am
ghetto
white
because you
trash.
acting
I
like
am
white
white
trash right
trash.
now.
I am
You
white
acting like
trash. So
white
what,
trash right now.
motherfucker?
I bet
So
you in your
what?
mind.
I am white
You
trash.
see,
So
bringing that voice
what?
card
Opioid
You
do
got
again.
you want?
anything
What
else?
opioid do
You
you
got
want?
anything
This shit is
else?
funny as
I
What
fuck.
are
don't
you
think
You
even
got
that
anything
saying?
else?
Why
I
don't
am
you
What
white
are you
trash.
even
why don't
saying
you be
right
I
back
now?
on
am
your
white
opioid?
trash.
Why
I
don't
don't
you
give a
be
fuck.
Bye.
So
on your
what?
opioid? All
I
right?
am white
Okay.
trash.
That's
I don't
cool.
care. I
Oh,
am
this
white
is
Go to bed,
funny.
trash.
No,
brother.
This
man,
is
you gotta
funny as
do.
I
fuck.
am white
I don't
trash.
You gotta
care
I
do
what
thought
something.
you
all
Do
that
told
dumb
something.
me.
shit you
Do
I
a
be
little
thought
bit
saying.
of
you
something.
told
Yeah,
me.
I know opioid queen. I know opioid queen. Opioid queen.
Peace
Opioid
out.
queen.
Go
Opioid
ahead. Go
queen. What are you
on.
doing over
That's
there?
fine.
What are you doing
Oh,
over there?
come
You
on,
sound like
man.
you're trailer trash. You sound
Oh,
like
yeah, I'm white trash.
I bet you can tell
Woo!
you
I'm
why.
white
You mad because
trash.
you
I
ain't
got
even
my
see why,
KKK
right?
meeting
Why you
tonight.
ain't getting
I
up there and
waved
get
my
that double
Confederate
wide?
flag.
Why you ain't
Yeah,
getting up there
buddy.
and
I
get that
fought my
double wide
cause
over there?
Wow.
You
tonight.
over there with that double wide, but you over there
That's right.
pushing that double
Woo!
wide.
Oh, no.
Black
I'm a
Panther
single
over there
wide,
flexing
brother.
your whiteness
Single
All
like
right,
wide.
man.
you
You
No
man,
more
white
double
man,
wide.
chill
trash.
out. Chill
She
out.
even got
Y'all
a
getting
white
all
dog.
mad.
She even has a white dog. She embraces her whiteness so much. Look at
That's
her.
right.
Here we
White dog.
go.
I got
There
two
she
white
is over
dogs.
there
Not
in that
one,
trailer
two.
park with that
Two
white
white
dog
dogs.
embracing your whiteness,
Damn.
wishing you had a double
Don't be
wide. You
bigoted
should have got
against
you
the
a better
dog.
man. You should have got you a better man.
Yo,
Maybe he'd have
yo,
hooked you up
that's
with
some
that
fucked
double
up
wide.
shit.
Maybe he'd
That's
have
some
hooked you up
fucked
with that
up shit.
double
You gonna
wide.
be
Boy,
mad
you
at a
got to check.
dog.
Go see
Oh,
if
no,
that
Hey,
no,
white
y'all.
dog over there.
Yo,
Go see
yo,
if
you
that
can
dog
have
over
Living in
there.
you can have two
America.
Oh,
black
you got
dogs.
quiet. Get your ass
Yo,
up
oh,
you
here.
can
man,
have
this
two
is
black dogs, bro.
hilarious.
I ain't done talking to you.
And
What's
this
up,
ain't no
man?
Get
white
your ass
puppy.
back up in here. I ain't done talking. You little stupid goons that want to step here want to
Yo,
act
I
like
gotta get. I
Yo,
gotta get
this
her out.
motherfucker's
white people
extra
around like
stupid.
I'm
Oh,
stupid.
this is great.
Right here in front of them.
Peace
I
out,
don't
Jay.
care nothing about you.
Woo!
Fuck, I'm telling you.
This is fun though.
Exactly.
I liked it. You got
This is great. I love it.
I don't like no motherfucker. I ain't supposed to talk that shit. I clap back. What's good?
I'm not even
Woo!
mad at nobody.
Actually,
I ain't
anything
supposed
you
to
say
tell. I
coming from
clap
behind
back.
a mask is shit. You got a mask on, bro.
Yep,
Anything you
exactly.
say is shit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm showing my white
Exactly.
Yo,
trash
you
today.
ain't
Exactly.
standing up. You ain't putting your
Exactly.
face out there. You're just putting
Exactly.
a bunch of
What is
bullshit
that
out
proving?
there.
What is that proving?
If you
What is
really
that
believed
proving?
in what you're saying, you
What is
would
that
take
proving?
that
Because
fucking goofy ass
my
back to
words not
Africa,
moving.
man,
What proves it is
If
you're
I
an
show you my face,
uneducated
do
and
my
Negro.
face
speak.
For
mean
You
real.
more?
talk shit, bro. You're talking
Do my
dumb
facts
shit.
I'm
become
out.
facts if I show you my face? Or is my facts still the facts whether you see my face or not?
Yo, your
Exactly. So
face
shut
is
up. What
hidden
the hell you
because you know
talking
you're
about over there?
full
You
of
sound dumb
shit.
as shit. You sound dumb as shit.
Because you
It's
know you're full
irrelevant to
of
the
shit, bro.
conversation. It's irrelevant to the
Yo, and
conversation.
you're
And this is
actually
telling me
your
you got
choice of
nothing else. This
avatar.
is telling me you got
Your
nothing
choice
else.
of avatar says
That's
it
what I
all.
thought.
Because your choice of
That's
avatar
right.
got on some shit over
That's
top the
right.
ears because all you want to hear is what you got to say. Your mind is
Nah,
already
I was
made up.
trying to hear what
You
everybody
came
was
in
saying.
this
Y'all
shit.
motherfuckers up here
You
being
didn't have
disrespectful.
shit. Yo, you
I was the
came
one
in.
up
You had
here
a
being
point. You never
disrespectful. Y'all
made,
the motherfuckers, as
you
soon as I
never,
came in
ever,
here, you started
ever
capping off. I ain't
made
even
a
get to say a
fucking
word. I
single
asked you
point.
one question, you got triggered and lost your fucking mind.
No,
All I
you
asked you
got
was,
triggered when
do
I
you
said
want
your name.
to make this about
See,
theological
that's how
reasoning? You
deluded you
lost your
are.
shit.
I
You
said
lost
your
your shit.
name and you reacted.
You lost
Just
He
your
like if I
reminds
shit.
me
said
of
faggot, you would
he
react.
I
reminds me of
asked
AD.
Do you want to make this about
AD, we got AD the second here.
No, you did. You're so fucking retarded. You're accusing me of what you attempted to do.
No,
that's how
what you
fucking
did, bro.
stupid and self-deluded you are.
That's what you did,
You
son.
took it to
That's wrong,
religion.
too.
You said you want to have a theological conversation, and I said we need to talk about
You started
Baltimore,
calling me all
but
kind
you
of ignorant
can't do
motherfuckers. Hey,
either.
you started calling me all kind of ignorant motherfuckers talking about I
You're
got inferiority,
incapable of
inferiority
having a
complexes and all this other
conversation.
dumb shit and everything
You
else.
brought
Rewind the
nothing
tape.
to this
Rewind the tape. This
conversation.
shit is on footage.
You
Rewind the
have
tape. I
brought,
ain't got to lie.
listen,
I ain't got to lie. It's on footage.
you rewinded.
So you can go ahead
You
you go
rewinded. I
ahead and
sat here
lie all
laughing
you
at
want.
you.
It really don't matter.
I'm
I know
still
what happened.
laughing at you.
I know what happened. You was
I know
trying to
what
duck the
happened too.
fade. You was trying
It's
to duck the
ignorant
fade.
dumbasses
So you
like
wanted to
you
turn it into a
that are
roasting
fucking up
session.
your
You wanted
own
to turn this
neighborhood.
into a
You fuck
roasting
up your
session
own
when you
rights.
wanted to duck the
You're
fade.
fucking up America, but you want
I
to blame it
understand
on
you ain't put
someone
your
else
vote. I
based on
get
the
it. So
color of
it's
their
like, okay, well,
skin.
fine. If you want to do the roasting, we can do the roasting. It don't make me no
Go
difference.
ahead,
I
put
break
the
it down
blame
like
on
that. Whatever it
everybody
is you
who's
want to
not
do, it don't
you.
make me no
Now he
difference,
wants
son.
to roast.
I
He
came
don't
up
got
in here to have a
facts right.
conversation. You wanted to roast.
Everybody
That's
else
what it
is to
is. Don't get
blame but
mad.
you.
Don't get mad because I do that too. You thought I didn't roast. You thought I was gonna be some
You
little
ain't. I
docile.
never
You
got
thought I
mad
was
yet.
supposed. You thought I was
You
supposed
can't make
docile,
me
Black
angry. I
Lives
look at
Matter,
you and
marching
have
down the
pity.
street type Negro, and
I
you found
pity
out I was
you.
somebody else, and you
Yo,
found
check it
out I
out.
was
Like
somebody
Mr.
else,
T used
and
to
now you
say,
upset.
I
I
pity
get it.
you.
I
You're a
understand.
fool.
I understand. You can't talk to
I
me the way you
pity
talk to
you,
those Black
bro.
Lives Matter dudes. You can't talk to me like you talk to those goddamn conformists, those
You're a
fucking
slave,
integrationists.
bro,
You
and
can't
you
talk
don't
to me the
even
way
know
you
it.
talk to them motherfuckers.
You
You
are
gotta
a
talk to me
slave to
different. You gotta
You
ignorance.
know
talk to me
what? Hey,
different. You gotta
hey.
come at me
You're
with
a
a different name.
slave to
His
That's what
name
you
is
ignorance.
gotta do.
perfect.
You
Psychotic.
understand? You gotta come
You
to me
fit
with
the
a different
perfect
name.
name, my
Dude, he
You
friend.
come
is
at me
a
with your copy
slave
Psychotic.
and
to
paste rhetoric.
ignorance.
Your copy and
You
paste
are
rhetoric don't work
psychotic.
on me. I know
The
when I
name
came up
fits
in
you,
here,
bruh.
you was like, yeah, you argue one
Whatever,
black guy, you
bro.
argue with them all. So you thought I
Whatever.
was gonna be that other guy, and you
Yeah,
found out real
whatever.
quick that ain't the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. Everybody else is
I know I
wrong.
am. I know.
Yo, just like this whole black back to Africa shit you got on your face, right? Who do you
Who
think
said
was
anything about going back
responsible
to
for
Africa?
enslaving
Who
black
said anything
men?
about going back to Africa? See, there you go
Go
making
ahead.
assumptions again.
No, I wanted to ask, do you think they want you in
No, he didn't even
Africa?
use it as a thing. No, man. It was called a euphemism, man. If you know what that word means.
Huh?
Yes, I absolutely know
No,
what that
because
word
he's
means.
intellectually incapable
Right.
of
It's called
having
a
a fucking
euphemism.
Oh,
mature
now you're gonna tell me
conversation.
what I know and what I don't know. Okay, got you.
I
Hey,
know
hey.
what
I
you
said.
don't know.
I said. If you
How
know
do you
what
know what
that
I don't
means,
Because
know?
that's
what
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 I
does
you
said.
that conversation mean?
say
All
you
right. And
do know,
you took
when
it.
you
You
tell me
can't.
what you think you know, it tells me what you don't know.
What you
This
That's
is
want?
how dumb you
fun.
are.
I asked
What
you in the
you
beginning when I first
claim
came
to
up here,
know
I'm
whatever
loving
is
you
this
what
want to
now.
you
talk
This
don't
about.
is
I
know.
was trying to
day.
break down before how you was misusing the word Uncle Tom, one, and how two, it ain't on you to call to
A
find
what?
out who is and who isn't a quote unquote sellout. That ain't on you. White people can't tell another black person whether or not they
Well,
selling
no,
out
it's
with other
different.
black people. What
What
the
is an
fuck is
Uncle
that?
Tom
That's like
then?
me. That's
Go
like me
ahead, tell
going
me
up
I
there.
don't know what an Uncle Tom
That's
is.
like me. That's like what happened.
No, see, you're so fucking bigoted and you're so racist, bro. And you're
A
incapable of
black person can't be
understanding
racist. I thought
your
we covered
own
that already.
ignorance.
A black person
I
can't be
know
racist. I thought we
you're
covered that already.
self-deluded into believing
Oh yeah.
that
Black.
your
Hey.
hatred
Okay.
of
Hey.
someone
Hey.
because
I
of the
learned
color of
something.
their skin
Black people
doesn't
cannot be
exist.
racist. All right. Thank you. I didn't know that black people cannot be
I know
racist.
it's a.
So,
Hey, now
so
how old are you now? Yo, Leverlock. How old are you now?
Who, me?
How old are you right now, Lever? No, Lever. What are you around
oh,
30,
clever.
35? Aren't you
I'm
glad that
46.
as a young black
I'm four,
man that
I'm
by the age of
46.
35 you finally realize
Okay,
that you can't
everybody.
be a racist?
I
When
want to
another
hear what
black
Nah,
man
Pastor
he,
gonna
tells
he
you
can
say.
be
that a black
president. He
man
can be
can't be a
I never heard
racist,
him really talk.
he can be president bigoted. He don't have no power to be racist. He don't have
you
no
don't
power.
have
Oh,
no
How
power to
can
be
how can
racist.
how can he as
I
president?
don't know
It's so
what your
fucking
He has
logic
no
is,
retarded.
bro.
power. He has no power to
No,
affect
I
your.
mean,
He has no
look,
power
man,
to affect your
you sound like
everyday
a
life
complete dumbass.
whatsoever.
I'm just gonna say it. You sound like a complete dumbass. You're
How?
contradicting everything you say.
How did I contradict it? Go explain how I contradicted myself. Let's see if you
He's
know what the word
intellect. He
contradiction means.
is
Let's see if you know
intellectually
what the word
incapable of
contradiction means. Explain it
recognizing
again.
his own ignorance, bro. You're asking him to explain. It's like asking a psychotic to explain his psychosis.
You're right. And so you're right. Me asking him is stupid, right? Like, because he can't
No, him
explain how
asking
I
you.
contradicted myself.
Him
Again,
asking
y'all make
you
claims, but y'all don't
why
back it
you're
up.
so
Whenever I ask
goddamn
y'all to back it
ignorant
up, y'all start
is a
going into
waste of
ad hominem
time.
attack. Every time I ask y'all to back up
It's
a claim,
ad
Everybody.
hominem
Y'all going to ad hominem attacks because y'all backed up
You
some
sure
of
it's
these.
not ad hominem, Chris?
I'm not
You
running.
sure it ain't ad
I'm
hominem?
not running from them. I'm not running for these claims.
Yo, you sure it ain't ad hominem?
Stepping the fade. Like you made a claim.
You don't even know the fucking word
I'm
you're using.
asking him to explain that.
You're a walking soundbite for an Uncle Tom.
Why don't you pick up his argument? You explain how I contradicted myself.
Bro, listen, you keep recommending that everyone go back and watch this video. Why don't you go back and watch it? And then watch it as if you were somebody else.
Are you going to explain how I contradicted
myself? Watch it as if you're someone else. Because you got probably 5 personalities.
Are you going to keep running and dodging? You buck dancing. You're doing a lot of
Yo, I would never run. I wouldn't run from your motherfucking dumbass. Not a single fucking step. But I bet you'd run from me. Yo, keep talking that dumb shit. You think that motherfucker fist in the middle of your forehead? To me, that looks like a goddamn bullseye.
Y'all are sitting up here hitting me.
Yo, that fist you got in the middle of your forehead looks like a bullseye.
Supposed to fly. Bruh, I do this. I didn't argue with way bigger motherfuckers than you. I promise you, way smarter motherfuckers than you. I didn't argue with motherfuckers with PhDs. You a fucking drunk.
Of course, because you're so goddamn stupid that you don't realize it.
And you sitting up here.
And you're gonna argue with everyone. You're arguing with the doctor that told you you needed fucking psychoactive drugs.
I done debated the motherfuckers who probably gave you your talking points.
You haven't debated anyone.
Are you crazy? Are you
nuts? You ain't. Jesus Christ. You know what? KRS-One. Yeah, Scott LaRock had more time in the short life he lived to debate than you ever will. Yo, I know more about that shit than you do, you fucking dumb motherfucker.
You know about Scott LaRock.
You weren't even born when Scott LaRock was alive, so shut the fuck up. So you is it cultural appropriation? Is it cultural appropriation for a white boy to know who Scott LaRock is? You dumb motherfucker. You can't explain anything to anyone.
I'm a 70s
You're
baby.
too goddamn stupid.
You think I don't know about Scott LaRock? You think I don't know about
I think you don't know shit.
Let me ask you a question. How many albums is Scott LaRock on? How many albums is Scott LaRock?
Why don't you tell me? Why don't you tell me? How long did he live?
You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. Shut up. Like I said.
No, I do know. I do know. But you don't. And that's the whole problem. One of the reasons. Do you know why KRS-One became a peaceful rapper? Because after Scott LaRock got shot in his motherfucking head, and I'm not going to validate your stupidity. But when KRS-One started doing peaceful rap,
like I said,
mute him for a second.
You don't even know.
Yo, I'm trying to educate you because you can't educate me.
I know about Scott LaRock. You can't educate me on shit. Especially hip-hop.
Motherfucker, I could shoot a motherfucking man in the middle of his forehead at 500 yards before you could get a hard on.
You can educate me on your white wing.
You're fucking right. You're damn right.
I know more
You're fucking right, I can.
Than you do.
So why did KRS-One become a preacher? Why did KRS-One become a preacher for nonviolence?
What do you mean? Why did he? Because Scott LaRock died. I asked you why did I asked you how many albums?
And so but what was the #1 inspiration for every album he did after that?
Can we just all get along?
I asked you.
It's the answer to your question. It's the answer to your question. It's the very answer to your question, you fucking moron.
That's not the answer to my question. I want a number. What is wrong with y'all giving numbers? How come y'all motherfuckers don't give numbers around here? Only time y'all give numbers.
Because I just told you why.
Only time y'all want to give out numbers.
You are too goddamn stupid to have a debate with anyone.
It's like pulling fucking teeth. I don't understand what the problem is. I just asked for it's easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm sure you don't have to worry about teeth getting full because you sound like you sound like you's on the glass dick. You ain't gonna have to worry about no dentist with your teeth because you's on the glass dick.
Pause. You sound like you drunk as hell.
Yo, you know you's on the crack, man. You must be smoking the crack.
In the back, y'all see? Is that a meth lab?
Yo, you been up there with Chappelle. You up there with Dave Chappelle.
A little meth lab back there. I bet you be cooking up some bad shit back there. You be taking it, don't you? Stop cooking up bad shit.
Fucking right, I do. And you're my #1 customer.
Bad shit. What the hell is you doing?
Yo, to reach out, you know why? Do you know why he ain't got his face on here? Because he got so many. pick marks on his face.
You want
that motherfucker been smoking so much that he done picked his face apart.
That's why the government's getting all light on the motherfucking drugs now. That's why they're getting light on those drug laws now, because the motherfuckers like running around.
Listen to him. Yo, they don't have any white people incarcerated for fucking selling drugs. They let them all go.
I said, you ain't never heard me say that. You
They
insinuated.
let them all go. Yo, now you just insinuated that. You said that they're not locking up guys like me because I'm white.
Lighter on the drug laws.
What does that tell? You're too goddamn stupid to admit to what you just said.
For clarity.
He just said guys like me. What's a guy like me? What's a guy like me? A white guy with a beard?
For clarity, are you saying the government
son of a bitch
on drug laws?
He's a dumbass.
For clarity,
Bro,
are you saying that the government is not getting lighter on drug laws? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is you said they were getting lighter on them because of guys like me, white guys growing drugs in their trailers.
Right, exactly.
So you just made a racist statement and you won't admit it.
When the meth epidemic...
You're a racist piece of shit motherfucker who isn't even worth the time of day that we're giving you on this fucking video. Yo, we're giving you more time than you deserve.
I understand you trying to duck this, but you ain't going to duck it. Like I said...
No, I'm not. You are. Listen, you're not capable of having an intelligent conversation. But in order for that to happen, you would have to be intelligent, and you're not.
That's all you do is filibuster, dog. I'm saying you can't talk and listen at the same time.
Filibuster, you just saw my shop in the background. Yo, he sees my wood shop in the background, and I'm growing meth. I'm making meth.
Like I was saying, when the meth epidemic and the opioid epidemic became a mass problem in this country, when y'all motherfuckers all got hooked on that shit, and y'all was all fucked up in y'all brains, faces all sunken in, looking like Skeletor, y'all motherfuckers all fucked up back there, that's when the government came down and was
I know. I've been in your back, Lord. I've seen your sister.
Maybe we need
to you can talk all that shit you want.
So long over these motherfucking drugs that's being spread out and blah, 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 blah.
You know, here's the worst part. That more than likely, you are a grown result of the crack epidemic, and you're a crack baby all grown up.
I'm a 70s baby. Try again.
Your brain, when did the crack epidemic hit?
I was born. It was no crack when I was born. No, I'm not a product. I'm not a product of a one-night stand. Yes, I know who my father is. My parents were married. My parents were married. They motherfucker had money too, and they wasn't on welfare. So you can get all them those stupid stereotypes out of your head. You understand me?
Listen, motherfucker, you went there. You tried to talk about the trailer.
Let's get the Yokai drop.
Listen, all that shit, bro. Every single thing you said was racist, and now you're going to try to throw it back on me because I called you a crack baby because your brain is fucking retarded. I'm trying to figure it out. See, because I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm just trying to do like, they call like a backyard, they call a backyard mechanic.
Not even bigoted or prejudiced.
They call a backyard mechanic a shade tree mechanic.
Throwing words out there, not making no fucking
Oh my God, you're so fucking in denial of your own. You are in such denial of your racism.
This is your high
You are in such, see how he is, dude? He talks about filibustering. He talks about filibustering. Say something someone can understand.
This dude is really low IQ. Real talk.
Go ahead.
What are you sipping on back there?
Go ahead, tell me what.
On back there? Moonshine? Are you sipping on
what's
moonshine?
pot?
What are you sipping on?
Hey, you got some moonshine.
Yo, what's
that with me?
Yo, what's pot?
You sipping on some heavy shit,
motherfucker. You probably can't even afford it.
Look at that shit. Look at that shit, man. Leave that
shit. Motherfucker, shit.
Leave that shit alone, dog.
Yeah, I gotta drink it. As long as there's dumbasses like you in the world, I drink more.
You over there drinking that clear liquor. Leave that shit alone, man. Stop fucking with that dark liquor.
What's wrong with
Don't fucking with that dark liquor, man.
Listen, this motherfucker, he's such a racist. He's such a racist. He's even racist against clear liquor.
Yak over there and then impress me.
No, he's racist against clear liquor.
Yeah,
Mo, what kind of liquor you drink, Mo?
You right.
Don't you drink vodka?
I'm so pro-black. I'm so pro-black, my liquor's motherfucking dark brown. You motherfucking right. I'm so pro-black, my liquor's dark brown. You have got that right. I'm glad you picked
Fucking what
that.
is it, Old English, motherfucker? You still drinking that old E, bitch?
Nah, I don't fuck with OE too much, man. I do drink Parmesan, though. That's the only brandy I drink, if you really want to know.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. I like that, too.
I don't fuck with no damn brandy. It's too sweet.
All right, this was fun.
Listen. It ain't fun because it's it's bullshit. Because the reality of it is, we shouldn't be arguing because the real enemy is not. I'm not your enemy. If you want to be my enemy, that'll be a mistake for you. But that's all. That's something you might have to find out the hard way. But the real enemy is the people that are pitching you and me against each other, and it ain't Trump. It's these people we're talking about, and that's the whole point of this video. The politicians, these so-called black leaders that stand around like Elijah Cummings. You know what? You know why he's coming at him? Because the man isn't doing his job. What he says is his job is not his job. His job is, and the results of him not doing his job are painfully evident in his city. And that's the only point that this video was to make. And it's not to lay the blame on them because they're black leaders. They just happen to be black leaders. This isn't about color. This is about our country. This is about our neighborhood.
Understand this, though. Understand this. I'm fine with the locals coming down on Elijah Cummings. I'm fine with that. Baltimore could be better. I got people down in Baltimore. I stay out in Baltimore now and then when I travel down to DMV. But at the end of the day, let's not get it twisted. Trump ain't doing this because he give a fuck.
Yeah. And here's the problem. Let me explain something to you.
Trump is doing this.
You can deny it. Please, can I say one thing?
Let me give you my position. I believe Trump is
doing it. Go ahead, man, but I want to respond while I can still think.
I believe he's doing this for the sole purpose to deflect, to get the heat off of him, and plus to get people like yourself riled up. And just like he did, it's like
I'm not riled up.
Like
I'm not riled up. You guys were.
I didn't say you are riled up. I said to get people like you riled up.
I think it's all a joke.
Now, let me finish saying what I'm saying.
But let's talk.
Let me just finish. I'm stop. I'm gonna let you talk. Like I said, he's doing all this to get y'all riled up, just like everybody did in 2015, 2016, where we had this big ass motherfucking racial divide, and everybody's like, okay, well, all the white people gotta go over here, and all the black people go over here, this, that, and the third. It's all a mind fuck. Because one thing I gotta put out there that I know y'all already think, I am not a liberal. Let's get that clear. I'm not a liberal.
No, I'm not. I hate to tell you this. Let me say this in real quick response. First off, there are very few. Because I listen, and this is a fact, and we were just talking about this before we did this video. We did this video to prove the point that we've already proven. No black men, unless they're actually out of the closet, gay black men. There are no black men that will ever call themselves a liberal. They may call themselves a Democrat, but you'll never hear them motherfuckers saying, I'm a liberal. You won't hear no respectable black man saying it's okay for a man who thinks he's a woman to be in a bathroom with women. Okay? So don't get it wrong. There are no...
I'm not a Democrat either. I'm not a liberal.
No, that's my whole point. But the point that I'm making, okay, is that we are being divided, but not by the ones you think. And what Trump is actually doing is not to deflect, because here's the reality. If anyone was getting the real true information and not no spoon-fed shit from the right or the spoon-fed shit that we're getting from the left. But the reality of it is the Democrats are the ones who are trying to deflect, because every single thing that they've been throwing at them have come back like boomerangs. They're going down. And the sad thing is that people who are supporting them, that are allowing them, because they're the ones that are making it about race when it's not. It's about this country. It's about our communities. And they can say what they want, but Trump has single-handedly, in less than 3 years, done more for the black community than Obama, Elijah Cummings, more than 90% of the black Democrats that are out there in the cities prove it.
Real quick. I agree Obama was the gay president, not the black president. So I agree.
No, I don't think. No, I'm not talking about the gay. Gay has nothing to do with anything.
Walk with me real quick. Like I'm saying I agree he's done more for the gays than he's done for black people. But I need you to explain to me what Donald Trump did that was so great for black people. Because I haven't
What are
seen
you
it.
talking about? First off,
You say he did
the
more,
crime
than
initiatives, the crime initiatives that he's done, that he has signed, that have. Listen, man, you have mandated when you look at the mass incarceration of black men in America. Okay, it was instituted by the Democratic Party. Their policies. When you look at right now, they want to complain about the people incarcerated by ICE. Do you know they're actually mandated by congressional mandate? 70% of the people that are there are in there because of congressional mandate, 90% because they are felons. They're not just people that walked across the border. These are people who are felons, and yet they don't tell you that their laws are the ones that mandated them being in there. But instead, what they do is this. They put you in jail, and then they tell you, after creating the situation that you are suffering under, that they are your savior. When how can the motherfucker that enslaved you be your savior if you, after they say they're going to save you, you're still enslaved? If they say they're going to help you, you still haven't been helped. And under Trump, people who should not have been incarcerated are not incarcerated. And because of Trump, he's instituted programs to not only allow them to find places to live, unlike these halfway houses where they just put you right back in the center of the same environment, really in the same conditions you were when you left, right? Where you got to find a job, and then you end up falling under the same temptations because you're still in the same economic blight that the people that were elected to correct your infrastructure in that city have left it. So it's an endless cycle where they tell you they're going to be your champion and they don't do shit. And then you got all these people that mindlessly listen to the media. They say Trump's a racist, but you know what? You say you grew up in the 70s, and I believe you. And how could you not, if having grown up, if you had been politically active your whole life, which many people weren't. Many of us didn't become politically active until we had this shit right on our phone.
Because of my parents, right? I was.
Well, here, then you know. He's gotten countless awards for being one of the most least racist. Dude, he got NAACP awards, Black Community Awards, nationwide awards. There's countless pictures. Listen, go check it out. They can do whatever they want, but Al Sharpton was all the way up his ass, and now all of a sudden he wants to come out.
All the people, Snoop Dogg.
Don't have my best art.
I know, but here's the thing: the majority of the people.
Why is he racist?
The NAACP gets brought off all the time. The NAACP gets brought off all the time. Al Sharpton is a joke.
Well, how is the independent? Here's the thing. You know, and this is the thing. When I was growing up, I grew up in a black neighborhood, and my friends used to insult me sometimes because they would say stupid shit to me like, "You're a black man trapped in a white man's body." And I always knew that I actually had a better life being born white. I had never wished that I could be black. I never wished it. Growing up, I always wished that I could help change that whole dynamic, right? But now I didn't have to change it because it changed itself. Anybody that doesn't believe that happened, when you have an overwhelming majority of white people voted to put Obama into office, when 50% of adult black males don't even have the right to vote because they're convicted felons. So that means that 6% of 13% of the population are black. So in order for Obama to have been elected, that means that a majority of white people had to elect him because no matter what anyone says, even with all the Indians, with all the Muslims, with all the... check this out.
I agree that at least close to half of white people would have to vote for Obama. Yes, but not
because we don't care about skin color. That's something that they're trying to throw back out there, and they're creating division in this country.
White liberals try to put on this front like they don't care about skin
color. Yeah, that's the whole point that we were making.
Skin color absolutely.
You're their black friend. You're their black friend.
Skin color absolutely.
But you know what?
Country though,
when they did it,
I'm not going to sit here and act like it doesn't. I mean, you know, in as premise, you know, it'll be real nice to be able to say we walking around here and everybody's colorblind and nobody sees color, but it's bullshit. Everybody sees.
You can't. It's inherent in the human species. See, there's only one.
Even if it's only
there's only one race.
Not even.
No, there's only one race.
You thinking about color.
It's the human race. No, it's inherent. It's actually a biological truth that you can't deny. But it is not an imperative unless you make it that. So if someone sees racism in every incident that they have in their life, whether they're black or white, if every time a white guy runs into a black guy, right, and his attitude causes, like, here, if I'm talking to a guy and he says, every time I ran into a black dude, man, I had a problem. The chances are the problem wasn't the black guys, it was him. Because I know from experience that not everybody's an asshole. And the same thing is true with white folk. But if you go into it, like that guy, let's say, with that lens, when you got your lenses already painted, you're going to see that overlay on everything. And that's the thing, man. So unless you put the lenses on, you carry it in you. But unless you put the lenses on, it's not going to affect the way you perceive the world. And that's the biggest issue that we have, that they are creating a perception that is not real. Majority of, like, we're going to talk about it, right? She wanted to talk about it. I agree with her 100%. And the majority of the most racist and bigoted attacks against black folk and the black community come from black policing the black people. And that's a fact. That's a government statistic. She's telling me, look them up. Listen, I spend I waste, and you can, if you want to consider that, actually giving yourself power.
Nobody arguing the fact that a lot of this stuff is happening about black police officers, but we again, when we go after the police, we go after all the police, not just it ain't even based on color.
We can't, and see, that's where we, and I say we because we have to overcome this problem together, right? And so if I'm going to get involved, if you want me to get involved with it, which I do, no, I want to be involved because I want to change things. But we can't stigmatize everyone. What we have to do is appeal to the better nature of the ones who aren't bad. Because in the end, all the bitching that you and me do.
They're all bad. They're all bad.
No, all the bitching that you and me do.
I'll tell you how they all bad.
You know how they are.
Every police force has the officers that do corrupt stuff and the officers that don't, right? But I'm assuming you're referring to the officers that don't do the corrupt stuff. But even the officers that don't do the corrupt stuff is still bad because they know all the corrupt officers on their unit, and they won't go to they won't
exactly. But that just
turn them in.
Now
they won't. They will allow them to stay their corrupt asses in the force and do all the shit they do, and they will form a shield.
There's no denying it.
Therefore,
now let's take it a step.
That they're all bad cops on that strength right there.
Yeah, but here's my thing. Here's the reason I don't agree with your position at this point, because everything you said up until that point, I agree with. And that's the point I was going to make. But I want to let you speak because we're having an actual conversation now. Yeah. So when you have a cop that's sitting next to a fucking piece of shit motherfucking racist, he knows it because that guy's telling fucked up jokes. And how do I know? Because I'm white. And I've known people that think that just because I'm white, they can say shit to me, and I'm just going to look at them like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. They automatically assume that I hold the same opinions they do. Black folk are the same way, all right? There's no difference. That's the whole point. But here's the problem. That guy is the guy that knows the heart of his partner is the only one that can stop his partner from doing wrong. The police, in order to change what's going on in the police, it's not going to happen by you and me bitching about it, because here's what we've done. We've created an us against them thing where they're just going to they're going to unify stronger. And then it becomes like we're going to end up seeing things are going to happen that we don't need to happen, where we actually need to appeal to the better nature of the majority of the police that can make the changes that are necessary to make it better for our country. And we won't do it by stigmatizing them, even though right now their inaction does make them look bad. But we have to depend on them because whether you like it or not, they're the only ones that are going to be able to enact the change if the ones that are in there that have the control and know. Because in the end, they're not going to answer you and me truthfully. When they could, they will get you there. And this is a fact. They can lie to you as an American citizen to get you into the police precinct. You get in there thinking you're going to help your neighbor out, and then they arrest you. And then if you lie to them while they're interrogating you, you get an extra charge while they don't get no charge for lying to you to get you in there in the first place. So there's some fucked up shit going on all the way around when you think about it. It's just like when you're driving down the street. She's talking about stopping a pedestrian. You want to know something? You have the Fourth Amendment right as a human being, black, white, I don't care what your color is. In America, if you're going from point A to point B, whether you're in your car or whatever, right? If you're not doing anything obviously illegal, yet they shouldn't be stopping you to talk about shit. Now, if there's a police report that you match, that's different. That's reasonable.
That's not what
happened. Far too often, because they are allowed to lie, they'll stop you over some dumb shit like, I couldn't read your license plate over your ball hitch. And you could have a Reese hitch that's way down below your license plate, but it's too late now, right? They give you 8 tickets. You go to court. The whole reason they stopped you was bullshit. You never had a ball hitch ticket. You get me? It's all fucked up. But
so you admit that there's a system put in place.
What I admit is that the system that is in place has people in it that, because they're people, are inherently susceptible to corruption. The problem that we really face in this country is that you and I don't ever, most people, I may not, maybe you don't. I don't want to assume, but I put myself in the position of other people and understand that they're human just like me. And what we have done is that we hold the police up to a higher standard than we hold even the very politicians that we elect. Like, we get upset when a policeman lies to you and me, right, about your license plate. You get your ticket and you pay a fine of $120 or whatever, some fucked up shit. While you got a politician that lied to you, and then you find out, right? Like this one dude, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to promote this shit. But we got congressmen and congresswomen that have a fund set up where you and me, the taxpayer, pay millions of dollars out, $17 million over a 3-year period of time, paying sexual harassment lawsuit settlements for people that, these other people that want to start talking about being the moral police of this country. They want to talk about how corrupt that Trump is, while these people are groping their interns in their office and paying them $1 million to keep them quiet. And then the records are sealed, and in reality, we're paying for it. And yet we sit here and we want to hold these police up to this high standard, right? And these guys are the ones that are actually out there. These politicians are under no stress. You got these people like Elijah Cummings comes out. He's a liar. And he makes up shit. This guy, literally, when they had the investigation into the corruption in the IRS, and they wanted to find out what congressmen and senators were involved in it, one of the first emails that they uncovered was from Elijah Cummings. But do you know who was one of the seated members on the board that was investigating the corruption of the IRS? Mr. Cummings. Lois Lerner agreed to come in and testify, and when she walked in, saw him seated at the countertop, she rescinded her thing and pleaded the fifth because his email was found amongst the first batch of emails, and he had sent her a list of names to target that represented the opposite political party. So here you got a guy who is absolutely corrupt. You got
all in politics. I mean, Trump is caught in all kinds of corruption. It's all corruption all in politics.
Actually, that's the biggest problem. That all of the things that people are believing about Trump, 95% of the shit that is actually standard operating rhetoric, ad hominem, to use your word. It's coming. Yeah, it is, because all you got to do is tune from 3, 6, 10, and those people are saying the exact same thing. And when you tune into MSNBC and CNN, and it doesn't make it true. Yo, first off, I love you, man. I want to ask you a question as a man who's tactical. I believe you are strategic. If you were the Russians, who would you want to be your friend? Someone who's already sold you 20% of our uranium rights. Someone who gave your number one ally, right, the Iranians, $151.8 billion right? And do you know what the first thing the Iranians did with the money? The largest weapons purchase from the Russians in the history of the world. They used money that we gave them to buy the very weapons that they are harassing people with in the Middle East right now on the Straits of Hormuz.
Now I understand why
the
Russians would want him to be in office.
So here's the deal.
My point was, it was
when
still
Obama was the president and his ambassador was sitting on the stage before he got elected the second time, in the open mic, that his ambassador said to this guy by accident in front of all the world, just let Mr. Putin know that all those things we agreed to, he's going to make sure that they come through after he gets reelected. And this is stuff you can't make up. It's stuff you can't make up. The Russians have suffered more under the Trump administration than any other administration. The Democrats catered to them. In 2010, under the Obama administration's Justice Department, and guess who was invested? Listen, this is a fact. You can look it up. Mueller and the FBI were doing a sting operation prior to the Russians actually purchasing our uranium rights. There were Russian spies that were caught influence peddling in DC, and they were secretly agreed by the Obama administration and the Mueller team. Now think about this. You got Mueller, who actually busted Russians who were influence peddling to buy the uranium rights, which they eventually obtained. Think about this now. What would be the last thing if you were the Obama administration and you found out the Russians were coming trying to blackmail people so that they could get people in power to agree to give you something? Wouldn't you, as a tactician, deny them that thing? But instead, they enabled them to get it. Mueller secretly enabled the Russian spies who should have been charged to be whisked out of the country. Now, let's fast forward it to 2016. You have a political party that communicates with the Russians to get information. Right. Now, they use an alternate party to receive that information, but at heart, they are the very first ones who initiate contact with the Russians. They create a fake dossier, which contains everything that it contained has been proven to be false. And you had a 2-year investigation, which cost our country, there's an estimate, $37 to $100 million to investigate a crime which never took place. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. The police came to your house with a search warrant, and on that warrant, it said all means of communication, cell phones, laptops, tablets. And they came and they handed it to you, and as you were reading it, you pulled your cell phone out of your pocket, threw it on the floor, and stomped on it. What would happen to you?
Get arrested.
Okay, so when Hillary Clinton, with a subpoena for all her BlackBerries and all that stuff, all the stuff that actually proves that she was in league with the Russians, that she used her influence, that her husband went to Russia and they got basically over $1 million or more donated to their foundation from the Russian oligarchs that they say that they have no ties that can tie them to Trump, but they can tie them to Joe Biden, to Hillary Clinton, and the Obama administration. And so you want to talk about all this evidence, there is none. The only truth that I want you to understand is that they want you and me arguing. Because as long as you and I are fighting in the street, and you're sighting down on me and I'm sighting down on you, they can sight down on both of us. Because they don't give a fuck.
Who's they?
The government itself, and not run by Trump. Listen, Trump is not the status quo, and it's what scares them. That's why the media and everyone else.
As far as Trump goes, I agree. He's just a figurehead. Insert.
Oh, he ain't no figurehead, bro. He's throwing a monkey wrench in their shit.
He's the face. He wields some power, but he doesn't wield as much power as people like to give him credit for. It's certain things, it's certain loopholes even he has to go through. So
only because we as the American people allowed that to happen. Let me say this to you. Right now, everything that's happening wrong is happening because of the Patriot Act. So they can violate our privacy. They can monitor our phone calls. They're videotaping this video right now. We have no control. You have no privacy. Bro, you communicate if you got Facebook on your phone. They know everything about you. If they decided and they got a warrant, guess what? They got all your shit. You're fucked. It's all there is to it. And the reason that that's possible is because our government, under the status quo, the Democrats and the Republicans, traded our freedom for a false sense of security. We have people across this country right now, homegrown terrorists. They don't care about helping your community, but they'll come and they'll act like they're your ally, so that they'll get you with them.
You preaching the quiet, like all
it's just like, don't you remember?
I do that all the time. Like, you know, if this was a Democrat, if this is a Democratic panel, I'll be heavy critical of the Democrats. So
listen, when the BLM came out, when the BLM came out, they were doing YouTube videos just like you and I are doing right now. And they said it right on the video. The very leadership said that they wanted to use the angry young black men on the street who don't care anymore. They used the word don't give a fuck, don't care about dying. They said, you know what, they're our pawns. So they were looking at the ones who need the most attention, that feel the most desperate, and they're like, you know what, we'll let them die, and we'll be the figurehead, and we're going to speak for them, and they're not. Anyone that thinks of their oppressed brothers in that fashion, for me, they are not on my team. My team don't give a shit. I care about everybody who's getting wronged. I want the truth out there. And I don't want anyone to be able to get away with stigmatizing innocent people. And like you said, there is no truly innocent person, but we have to actually try to appeal to the better nature of the ones that can make the physical change. And we won't do it by making them our enemy. You and I will never be able to have a conversation like we're having right now if we had to just try to talk over each other this whole time. Now we're actually having a conversation. And yeah, I'll admit, I said some ignorant shit. That's the way it is. I want to say ignorant shit for one reason. And you might not believe this, but love ain't got no motherfucking, love will beat your ass.
Yeah, but Grandma loved his ass, but she loved him enough to beat his ass when he needed it. It made him the man that he is today, right? And that's the thing, man. We got to fight each other. And if I think that you need to hear something, I know bro, I'm already, believe it or not, man. See, the biggest problem, the biggest impediment that you and I have isn't me. It's you look at me as a white man and don't realize I actually love you. And it has nothing to do with anything. I want you to be free of that bullshit. Listen, you don't want to believe in God, more power to you. More power to you. That's up to you. Theology has nothing to do with this conversation. Because God, what does the Bible say? It says you're supposed to love even those who don't believe. Your belief is your truth. And I don't have anything to do with that. And as long as we're trying to build each other up, we're right. The minute we're trying to tear each other down, we're wrong. And I'm not here trying to tear anybody down. Telling the truth about a condition. It's not saying that, I'm not saying that's because they're black. I'm saying it's because of their fucking political philosophies, the people that they're depending on. Right now, every single day, 1,000, and this is a very small estimate, every single day in America, 1,000 black, unborn, innocent children are being killed before they even have a chance to breathe. And we have black politicians that literally came out, a representative from Georgia, the same state where a woman made up a fake hate crime, and the guy wasn't even white. He was Cuban, but hey, we all look alike, right? If you're a racist, she was racist, created a fake race crime. You got a guy that's in the same Congress that she serves in, another black man that said, what's the difference if we kill them in the womb or we wait until they're 22 and they've killed people and we kill them in jail? That was his argument for supporting abortion, a black man. So for me, you know what? Fuck him. Someone that thinks like that shouldn't be a leader. And he can't speak for black people. He can't be a voice for black people because he's not even a voice for someone that has a human heart. And yet they try to present themselves as the most loving people in the world, and they're not.
White people are pushing to keep abortion laws too. And as a matter of fact,
they are. You know who they are? They're all Democrats.
The abortion laws became legal because of a white woman, not because of a black woman.
Yeah, a white Democrat named Margaret Sanger. A woman that's
Margaret Sanger did Planned Parenthood. It was Roe. It was the Roe case in the 70s.
Roe versus Wade is what made abortion legal.
Right.
Margaret Sanger was the one who planted the seed of abortion in the minds of American women. They were doing abortions back then. They were doing all kinds of shit in this country long before it was legal. Roe versus Wade, what they did was they challenged that current liberal bullshit that was going on, because at the time when they signed, when Johnson signed the Equal Rights Amendment, okay, the Democrat liberals, they went into a fervor and they started overturning all kinds of laws. At that time, believe it or not, Muslims were not allowed to immigrate to this country because who were the number one slavers? See, most people don't know why Muslims weren't allowed to be here. It had nothing to do with the conflict between Christianity and Islam. It had to do with the conflict of the fact that the Saracen traders were the Saracen pirates. They were Muslims. And their entire occupation was they went all up and down the coast of Africa, and they utilized their money and their gold. They trapped slaves and they bought them from Africans who were willing to sell them. Then we had Europeans Europe was against slavery at that time. So all of the ports that were slaving, they had Europeans from all over, the Dutch, the Portuguese, all over, because what they would do is they'd go there, they'd buy them, and then they'd transport them, but they transported them, and every time it was an illegal action. So they were basically, just like today, if you wanted to get liquor into this country, you bring it in off the shore. So that's what they were doing. That's why a lot of times, if they got boarded by a merchant vessel, like any type of vessel of the state, like Americans or like Spain or whatever, they would dump innocent people into the ocean to try to cover up their illegal activities. Now, that doesn't lessen the fact that when they finally made it to market, there were those people that bought them. But in the end, you have in this country right now, you have a whole entire nation, like the Nation of Islam, believes that they gave up Christianity and that they adapted the religion of they don't realize they actually adopted the very religion that enabled the slavery that existed. And the ones that stopped it.
Arabic slave trade was worse than transatlantic slave trade. Yeah.
And who ended it? The Christians ended it. Abolitionists ended it. Just recently, they didn't want a fucking Betsy Ross flag, and she was secretly an abolitionist that was donating money and risking her life to help enable.
The Christians started it too, though.
Yeah, no, they didn't. The fucking Muslims were the ones that instituted black slavery from Africa.
I'm talking about transatlantic.
And the first, listen, and this is historic, and I don't want to look like I'm laughing about it, but it's just such a joke. See, they used to have people that would come to this country as what you would call an indentured servant. And you can look it up. Yep. The very first indentured servant who was actually commuted to be a slave was an indentured servant to an emancipated black man. So the very first slave owner that allowed institutional slavery to be instituted in America actually was a black man. So in the end, it's like everyone wants to.
I gotta stop you there.
No, you can argue, but you can look it up.
Wait. Indentured servitude and slavery is two different things.
That's the whole point. Here's what happened. His indentured servant, at the end of his contract. Let me finish. This is the facts. His indentured servant, at the end of his indentured servitude, he was supposed to be released. But see, people don't understand. Did you know that Ben Franklin was a criminal? And do you want to know why? And this will explain something to you. Ben Franklin was, in all times, the oldest son of a family became the master of the house. And if your older brother sold you at the age of around 12, you had to be apprenticed out in order for you to find your trade or your lot in life. A lot of times they would, if you had a good family with connections, they would actually find someone and they would get you a trade so that you can learn a way to earn your way and make it in the world. Well, Ben Franklin's brother, it made him an indentured servant to this guy who treated him like a dog. And so he ran away from his indentured servitude. He was a criminal and he went to Philadelphia. All right. Now, The very first slave had been an indentured servant. He was black and he was indentured to a black man. At the end of his indentured servitude, the man who was supposed to release him decided to fight the release in court, and somehow he won. And from that day forth, that indentured servant became his property. And that's when that was the worst part about it. Even though indentured servitude was different than slavery, it was indentured servitude that was a gateway to slavery. But if no one cares enough to know the truth, then what we have are we will always find those people, just like politicians, who have a vested interest in disinformation, because they want to control you with disinformation. They want to control us through our perceptions. They want to convince us, see, your truth is your truth. You know what? I'm not going to say you're wrong, because even if the facts contradict everything you're saying, you're going to believe what you believe until you decide to look at those alternate facts and you think about them yourself and make up your mind. So all these people they talk about, like, you got white people on the white side that go, these black people, they're wrong. It's not really like that. No, the reality of it is, even if you don't see it that way, it is to them. It is to you. It is to that young lady that was on here. Even if I don't agree with some of the quote unquote facts, but I know it's her truth. See, and that's the difference. And that's what the Bible says. Like right now, one of the biggest conflicts we have, they want to divide us. And you got the very people, the pastors, that are supposed to be teaching you. Did they pick up their Bible lately? Did they ever open it up to Romans? Huh? Where it actually says that you're not supposed to dress like a woman. But it also says right here, it says, as for the man who is weak in faith, welcome him. Which could be you. If you're an atheist, you're weak in faith because you have no faith. You don't believe in that, right? Because it's false to you. That's your belief. I welcome you anyway. See, that's where you're wrong about me. I don't care about how you believe. I don't. I want you to understand, really, I do care. I care because what you believe is what you believe. It says right here, it says you're not supposed to hate people just because they're gay. It says it right in Romans, the very book that many people who have been taught the wrong thing believe something other than what they're supposed to. So that's why if you were to read the Bible, whether you believe it or not, one of the greatest truths of the Bible is found in Revelation, where it says that there's so many people out there that are going to come out and act like they know that they're redeemed, they're going to heaven, but because they didn't read the book itself, they've lived a life that was a lie, and they will be allowed to be overcome with their own deluded state so that when they appear in front of God, he says, I don't know you. Because if you don't know his word, how the hell can you say you know him? If he said don't hate someone because they want to dress like a woman, and then you hate someone because they want to dress like a woman, but then you say I love you, how do you know? And it says this in the Bible too, angels often visit. So you might not know if you was entertaining an angel dressed like a freaking degenerate and acting like a fool. But because you decided to look at the way they were dressed or the way that they were acting, you didn't see who they were on the inside. You didn't build them up. Maybe they need to be built up. Maybe they need to be turned back around. And maybe you're the one you're supposed to do it, but you won't be able to do it as if you look at them and you hate them from the very door based on something stupid like the color of their skin or the clothes they got on their back or the person that they represent. Because right now, the biggest thing that we're fighting is misdirection. The biggest thing that we're fighting is misinformation. You know, even back when Mark Twain, his name was really Samuel Clemens. He's the guy that wrote Huckleberry Finn. You got to love Huckleberry Finn. He was the original slickster, the trickster. He got his friends to do his paint job. Told him it was fun. Sat back eating, drinking lemonade while the dumbasses painted the whole fence. He was cool, right? Samuel Clemens was a smart guy. And he said that if you don't read the paper, you're uninformed. But if you do read the paper, you're misinformed. This was in the 1800s. So it hasn't changed, not a bit. And yet the problem that has changed is that our educational system, Baltimore being a perfect example, is that they actually inhibit our ability to communicate because they inhibit our vocabulary. And once they inhibit our vocabulary, they inhibit our ability to communicate because people won't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. once people can't communicate, it's like, here, I wrote a little thing. I'm going to read it. And I think you'll be able to appreciate this, anybody that's listening. But in the absence of reason, the club becomes the pool of fools. Right? As soon as you can't reason with someone, the first thing you do is you want to punch them in the mouth. Next thing you know, it's like, yo, dude, I'm the tough guy. You're not the tough guy. I'll show you who's the tough guy, blah, blah, blah. But we actually are ruled by the cognitive dissonant. We're actually being ruled by people who are mentally ill. And we don't, and because they have us looking at each other and fighting each other, we can't see the mental illness that's straight up in front of us. So I mean, it's like, here we fought for years to be desegregated. And now in the past few years, they want to segregate our colleges. So why is it that black people need to have a separate location to be feeling safe? That's some bullshit. That's bullshit. Why do we have to have separate laws to make any human being feel safe? If you commit a crime against somebody, listen, murder's a hate crime. You walk up to someone, you punch them in their mouth, it's a hate crime. But all of a sudden, you know what? We're giving special preference to one person over another person. So that, hey, if you and I get in a fight, automatically, because I'm white, right, it's going to be a hate crime if I win. If I lose, it ain't going to be a hate crime for you. You're just defending yourself. It goes back to that same philosophy, right? Black people can't be racist because you're not in a position of power. Is that what they say? But it's not true. The fact is that a lot of times, the only reason that we're in a conflict is because one person or another had a problem with the color that they're dealing with, rather than
it could be a hate crime because
the words.
It's not based on race. It's based
Man,
on
that's the comments I see.
Well, that's my whole point. It's a preconceived notion,
because you can have
which
a
is
hate
wrong.
crime. You can have a hate crime against somebody who's gay and it has nothing to do with race. So hate crimes isn't just exclusive to race.
So if I get in a fight with some loudmouth guy and he talks effeminately, right? Listen, I've fought guys that weren't gay, and as I'm beating their ass, I said, how's that feel, faggot? If I said that in the fight, all of a sudden, now the fist fight that I just won became a hate crime because it turns out the guy I didn't even know was gay was gay. I was gay. Listen, they can burn my American flag, which pisses me off, right? Because it means that they hate America and everything it stands for. But if I burn the gay flag, the rainbow flag, all of a sudden that's a hate crime, when in reality it's a metaphor. Because what does it signify? It signifies a promise from God that he's not going to flood the earth the next time he comes. The next time he finds us to be as degenerate as we were, he's just going to burn our asses. So if I burn that flag, I might be praying for God to come. I have a right to express myself. If you want to have a preconceived notion, but here's the facts. If you can't read my mind, stop putting words into my mouth. Like with what happened with Trump. Here, because they've painted him to be a racist. If you say it enough, right, it becomes true to people who don't think for themselves. And sadly, most people don't. It's work. And many people talk their shit. They come on. Listen, old girl earlier, she brought out some good shit. All right, some good statistics, but then some other bunk ass statistics that you could tell she just got her little flow going on, and we were muted. So she had like a half hour, 40 minutes to tell her fucking side of the story, but it still wasn't enough by the time we all shut up. And then we were ready to start talking, and she still wasn't done talking.
Oh,
think about it. How many times? Listen, I'm going to jump off. I'm going to jump off.
We're going to light this shit up. Oh, shit.
Yo, she jumped more in a YouTube video than if she was in an aerobics class this morning.
We got black man talking house. We conservative. Come on, black conservative in the house. What up?
But you know, I'm being real, man, because guess what? We can't solve this problem fighting each other because we're not the problem until we allow them to get us to fight each other. Then we become the problem. When we're beating each other upside the head over shit that doesn't even fucking matter. You know what matters? Whether them kids in Baltimore can go to school with some heat on in the wintertime. Because when my balls is fucking freezing, I ain't thinking about shit but finding some heat. I damn sure ain't gonna be thinking about arithmetic or Hansel and Gretel, goddamn.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be reading. I'm gonna be jittering. My teeth is going. Remember how when you was little?
I question how much people actually care. I think people just use these things as talking points just to try to support their party. That's what I think.
That, you know what? And here's the worst part. And this is really the worst part about it all. That sadly, that pessimistic attitude is part of our problem, because it's like, remember what I said, if you scream racism on every single issue, eventually it loses its power. If you scream rape on every single issue, eventually it loses power. The people that really need to be championed will be ignored. And why? Because everyone becomes jaded.
Racism, I didn't scream racism. I said people using these talking points.
No, I'm using examples. What happens is we become jaded to the point where, you know what? It's like we already assume, because it's been this way for so long and we're watching it happen time and again. It's like, damn, oh, this is happening all over again. Sort of like right now. We got all this shit going down. We got all this sexual deviant shit coming down on the Democratic Party. And now we got a mass shooting. Now, are they going to talk about the kids in New York? They're going to talk about the black shooter in New York that shot up all those people? No. All right, because that's a liberal city. Even though California's a liberal city, and this is where racism comes in. And it's from the liberals. You should be getting as much attention on what happened. Listen, Democrats, liberal Democrats.
New York has
we should be getting.
New York has some of the roughest gun laws in the country.
Yeah, we need to hear right now as much coverage about what happened in New York City as we are about what happened to a bunch of flower children, white folk at a garlic festival. Who the fuck? Yo, who the fuck goes to a garlic festival?
There were a lot of Hispanics there too that got shot.
I don't even give a shit. Hispanics are considered
exactly.
white.
There was like the night before.
They're Hispanic Caucasians.
Yeah, exactly. You heard there was that shooting the night before, and then all of a sudden you hear this, and hardly anybody knew about the shooting the night before. And that was.
But both places are strict gun control places.
Yeah, exactly.
And both places are run by liberals and liberal Democrats. So what are we hearing about? The same thing's true about the media. So the media is talking about a majority white crowd rather than talking about the same old shit that just happened in New York, in a town where the mayor stop and frisk. And it actually reduced the crime. You were talking about disorder. There's a lot of places where crime has gone down, but there's a lot of places where crime has gone up. So the reality of it is it's basically stayed right around the same level. It does this dumb shit. And it shouldn't be doing that. It should be doing this. All right? Especially if they're denying them guns. But it ain't the denial of guns that causes it. It's desperation that causes it. Why does the punk shoot the bully? Because he's tired of getting bullied. Desperation, bro. When you're hungry and you're starving and you feel oppressed, if you literally, your reality is like our friend here, the psycho guy, right? Eventually you're going to strike out. If you tell somebody that everyone hates them, eventually you're going to start hating them because, hey, they hate me, I hate you. There's no way around that. That's human nature. It's human nature, and we already, as we agreed earlier, have a natural seed and a tendency to prefer our own people for the most part. Then you get those guys that like to me, listen, if all you like is Asian girls, you got a problem. Because God made women in all kinds of beautiful looks, shapes, colors, skin. You know what I mean? You want to limit yourself, go ahead. You know, but I'm not. I'm like Captain Kirk. You could be green, but if you got a body, I'll treat you like a string bean. I'll treat you like a snap pea.
Oh, God.
I'll bend you over and throw you in the pot, girl.
God.
But it's just messed up, man. What is it? Yo, unmute him.
Oh,
we were having good dialogue.
I think he muted himself. He muted himself.
Yeah,
oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he felt he was talking too much.
Yeah, I need to get ready. Not to cut y'all off. I need to get ready to go. I'll talk to y'all later. It was real.
Hey, Psycho, come back
I
on.
apologize.
All right, no doubt.
Yeah, I actually do apologize for calling you names, man.
Hey, Psycho and
I'm a dick, I know.
Psycho, can you hear me?
Yo, I lived my whole life so I could. Yo, I can claim one absolute remarkable achievement. In this world, you got a lot of half-ass motherfuckers out there. At least I can say with all honesty, I'm a complete asshole.
A while ago, I lost my cool, and I didn't mean to call her hood. It's just they kept on. What's the number? What's the number?
Let's stop apologizing and be very apologetic.
Well, no, and then he called me. I was. He called me white trash, and at the time I was acting like white trash.
Look, we're past that.
Yeah, I know, but
I don't know.
But I agreed. I was acting like it, so you had the right to call me that. So there you go. So
y'all didn't see me at late night. I'm
so we're all good. It's good talking to you, y'all. We both brought good points. So
I'm waiting for some other guests. I got 2 people coming on here, man. Damn, I was hoping likewise come on here with.
Oh, you got someone else on?
See
you, Psycho.
Anyway, man, we're not all the same, bro. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
Hey, I told you, Hammer, this is how my channel be. It be worse than
I'm doing hold on. Each guest you have, I'm gonna do a hat change.
But I mean, for real, like,
all right, bring on the next guest to beat on me a little.
Oh, what did you see likewise?
I ain't got no problem, yo. You know,
he's saying I'm the globalist.
As soon as I was like, do you know the number? And I was giving the number. What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? And they wouldn't shut up. And I just went off. I'm like, I just couldn't. Because I'd sit there quiet the whole time. And
listen, I was good. Listen, I'm telling you right now that the thing with it is that people are going to believe what they're going to believe, and the reality of it is that me, Mo, you, nobody on here is going to have the same credibility that they give to them talking heads that are feeding them full of lies. Me, I don't believe none of them. Listen, I don't give a fuck. I watch Fox News or read articles on Fox or anything like that, just like any article, just like any information. First off, half of the time, people don't even realize whether it's the right or the left. The shit that ends up in your feed is propaganda. This is stuff that's being produced to make them look stupid. You've got right-wing conservatives that make fake news pages to make liberals look stupid, and you got fake news pages that liberals make to make conservatives look stupid, and everybody shares some of the dumbest stories that are not true. Occupy Democrats is a perfect example of where Facebook lets these people put out stuff that is absolutely 100%, sometimes 180 degrees opposite of the truth. But the people that are on that page, because Facebook doesn't post it as fake news like they do for conservatives, think that it's true. And then they run around and there is no way that you can have an equitable conversation with anyone who is using a dictionary with all the wrong definitions in it. And here's what I mean by that. You have a dictionary, it's made by Merriam-Webster, and you can buy them. They're not cheap. I've got an unabridged dictionary. I've got quite a few of them. I've got a really old ones and newer ones. It's one of the things I collect. And you can look up definitions in them. And they come with compendiums that are called thesauruses. And in a thesaurus is a book that is just a compendium of no real definitions, but you will know the definition because it'll show antonyms and synonyms, which are words which are opposite and words which mean closely the same thing. Now, Google has decided that they're going to change the meaning of words because they control the search engine. So you'll look up a word on Google and all of a sudden you'll believe that their definition is the right definition. Well, it is, if you allow a lie to be your truth. See, once the lie is established as truth for anyone, it's very hard to change that for that person. That's why it's so hard to win people over to Christ who have already been indoctrinated into the fire, because most Christians are going to hell and don't even know it. They really are. They think because they give money on Sunday, they go to church and they don't curse, that they're going to go to heaven, but they're not, because they don't really know what the Bible says. And the reason is, just like with the average person, not just in America, but worldwide, they allow other people to do their thinking, and because they trust them, they say, you know what, this person obviously is educated, or else Channel 3 wouldn't have hired them. Look, they've got a shirt and tie. Well, I look at the tie. I look at the combo. Listen, if you can't even dress yourself in patterns that actually match, you can't talk to me about logic because your outfit's illogical. You got stripes, right, with polka dots and freaking checks. These people are dressing like clowns, but you think they're intelligent. They're fucking dressing like kids that never even, the first time they learned to pick out their own outfit for school was when they were sent to the college that freaking totally fucked up the way that they think. And then they tell you how to think, and the next thing you know, you're screwed up because they're more credible than the guy with the beard who actually did some research. Where'd Mo go? I thought we were getting another guest.
I'm waiting for him. I actually invited 2 of them on here. They should be on here momentarily.
I can't stay on here much longer. I need to get some
hammer.
I gotta go get some ice. I gotta go get some ice for this damn drink.
Okay, go ahead, bro.
Nah, man, I'm gonna do it without the ice. Fuck it.
Hey, this dude is a piece of work. You're gonna laugh. He said he's a globalist. Come on, Likewise, get your ass on here, man. I've been waiting for you. Come on, Likewise. You set it off. He be at nighttime. We be late at night just yelling and screaming. This is what I'm gonna miss about Google Hangout. They ended Google Hangouts in 2 days. I'm gonna miss all.
I ain't screaming about shit, man. I got too much vodka in me right now.
I thought they wasn't going away, Mo. I thought they were just going to
change. They're gonna upgrade it, but
yeah,
I gotta figure this stuff out. I gotta figure out a new app. No, that's all.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he said in a few. About give him a few minutes. 2 minutes for Likewise. He getting it up in here. Hey, wait till Harry get a kick out of Likewise. You thought the other guys, the other people were something else.
I actually don't listen, man. I don't like arguing with people because arguing doesn't solve anything. And when people are, you know, the sad part is I really have a much more open mind than people think based on the way I talk. But most people that say they have an open mind don't. They're only open to shit that validates the mind that they already made up for themselves. Yeah. So for me to say I have an open mind is almost a giveaway to say you don't have an open mind. Yeah. Because when you have an open mind, you don't have to say it. Yeah. You're automatically open. And you know, and I'm automatically open to shit, man. But I'm old enough that I've seen it, man. I'm from everywhere. Everywhere I go, I pay attention to what's going on, and I know how I grew up. I don't need to justify or validate myself with anyone. But I will tell you this. There's a lot of people out there that believe things that are just untrue because they trust people. And they don't ever, like, oh, girl said, I'm going to send you some links. Well, you know what I do? The first thing I do when someone sends me a link, I scroll to the very bottom of any page that like, if you get a link on Facebook, not on Facebook, but if someone shares something, and it's a news article, you go to the page and go to the bottom. Yeah. And where it says about, you click on about, and 9 times out of 10, believe it or not, it'll come up and it'll say this page is a satire page. Yeah. So you're going to think you're going to share something and you're all excited because, oh my God, they're finally going to get them. And then you find out the joke is on you. It was a satire. They're making fun of us. And that's the worst part because the ones that are paying for those pages are these politicians on both sides of the aisle. Mm-hmm. It's a big fuck you very much game, and we got to stop falling for it. But we can't. You know why? Because the left is so convinced that they're right about what they believe that they don't even want to fucking give us a chance. Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth, man. They don't want to give us a chance.
Yeah, and that's why I told her, she's like, what's the number? What's the number? I said, go do your research. You won't shut up enough for me to tell you, then go do your own research. Because she's like,
we were all wrong at that point because we weren't communicating. Yeah. And we probably still aren't really communicating.
Well, like I said, I had to sit there quiet and listen to all y'all, and then when I tried to speak, it was like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, I can't even talk.
Well, here's the thing, though. Now you got a chance to talk. So what was it that you wanted to say? That way you say it now and get it out, because it's no sense in talking about what we didn't get to say, because who cares? Yeah, what do you want to say? Say it.
Oh, I was just going to bring up the fact about the shooting, you know, and how that the shooter, they keep saying that he was a white supremacist, but you know, and he was
the only ones that are saying that are on the left, because the fact of the matter is they've already scrubbed everything on social media, and all they have is one picture of him with a blue shirt, not a red one. So they can say whatever they want. I don't give a fuck. I don't care who he was, what side of the aisle he came from. The motherfucker shot a whole bunch of innocent people, and it wouldn't have happened if there was other people that were there that had guns or could carry guns.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's the reality. The whole reason why we have a Second Amendment is so we can protect ourselves. The police, they can't be there. When you got some stupid ass kids in the hood that are running down the street shooting up places, they need to be shot. Listen, I know that's some of these kids and we got sympathy, but there's a certain point where we have to draw the line, man.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say. He was Iranian, Italian Iranian descent, and like, hello, if he's white supremacist, he sure didn't go in an area where there was a lot of black people. And yes, there was a thing on his Instagram account to say that to read this book that was about white supremacy and stuff. But if he was white supremacist, then why didn't he go to an area where there was a lot of black people to shoot up? That didn't make a lot of sense to me. So, I don't know. It was just weird. But sometimes I think a lot of time when people go to shoot up places, and I'm not saying this is every time, but sometimes I do believe that shooters that do that put that on there just to get notoriety or get people talking. Is that, you see what I'm trying to say?
Here's the way I look at it. Listen, if you tell me that you was born in Kalamazoo,
yeah,
I got no choice but to believe that you was born in Kalamazoo. If some dude, look, we don't have no proof he said it, right? Except for there's a picture of a social media link that says he said it. Okay, so the way I look at it is this. I don't give a fuck.
Yep.
If he said it, he said it. Listen, we can't defend. There is no defending it. You know, to come out and say, I don't, look, it's irrelevant. To me, and I'm not saying that your arguments are irrelevant or the point you're trying to make is, but for me, it's irrelevant, you know, whether or not he was a black supremacist or white supremacist or this, that, or the other. This dude actually believed that he was fit to make life or death decisions about other people he knew nothing about. You've got people, you don't know who these people are. You got a little kid, you don't know who this little kid is that died. And yet all of a sudden they're going to turn all these people into martyrs. But what I want to understand is why when it happens in the black community, and this is the whole point, if you want to bring up those two shootings, you got two shootings that just happened. And yet all these people that got shot up, and who has any information or research on how that happened and how could it happen? How does something like that happen in a community where the police are supposedly a big presence, and yet it's not? It's like old girl said, you know, you go into these communities and half those cops are corrupt as hell. They don't care. The reason that they don't investigate the murders is because they believe they had it coming because of the lifestyle that they chose, and that's wrong. Wrong is wrong. Do your job.
That and they're hated a lot. A lot of them are like, fuck the po-po, you know. That's a lot of that, and that's a lot of it too. They hate the police because of that reason. Because of that reason. Yeah, because of what it said.
Why do they hate the police? See, here's my thing. Here's the way I look at stuff, and I'm sorry, it's just I don't know how you look at it. I don't know how Maurice looks at it unless you're telling me. But the way I look at it is like this. A lot of times, hatred, the feeling of hatred, it's really not acceptable, but it's understandable. Because, as I said earlier, and you can't ignore this statement, please. If you feel and believe in your heart that you are hated, when you witness, right? And here's the deal. Whether or not motherfuckers are assholes. Here's the reality. You know what? I'm going to put it in the straight street fucking human being universal text. We're all a bunch of assholes. And yet you get a bunch of assholes that get a position of power where they got a badge and a gun. And they get to flex their asshole nature all up and down the street. And if you're in that town where you got a big bunch of assholes and they're flexing on your ass and bullying you every day of the week, or you feel bullied. If you feel as though, hey, you know what? I'll tell you what, my cousin got shot. His parents never heard from the police. Fuck the police. They don't give a fuck about me, so I don't give a fuck about them. Now, that's not me speaking. I'm trying to tell you that people fucking have all kinds of opinions, and they never ever try to, even in their slightest macro fucking infinitesimal thinking process, try to put themselves in the feet of the people that they're judging. You got to understand, even though we don't want to accept the reality in that community, that's their reality. It's what they see, whether we agree or not. And until they are treated differently, they're going to think the same thing. And right now, it's just escalating. And when we have politicians that rather than trying to correct the problems in the communities where they exist, they sugarcoat them because it makes them look bad. And they want to be elected again. So they keep telling, it's just like Facebook. Check this out. Here's a good example for you. Facebook will ban what I have to say, right? Check this out. They'll tell me I can't say it and that they're not going to share my video. But if I give them $10, they're going to share my video. Think about this. So if I pay them to do their job, I got to pay them now to do the job now I got to pay them to boost me because they limited my reach. And see, we got policemen in a community, these people who they're getting paid to do a job that people don't feel as though they care. And it doesn't matter that many of them do care. Until people realize how much you care, they don't give a fuck about what you know, what you got to say, none of that. And so unless we change this situation, and it's back to the thing, we're not going to change it if we stigmatize them all. We got to try to appeal to the better nature. And we got to try, and we really have to, as a people, stop electing people who cater to our own personal weaknesses. They tell you they're going to give you something for free, and all of a sudden everyone's on board. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I want to know what you did for me lately, not what you think you're going to do for me if you get reelected, because you've been elected 34 fucking years straight. My shit's all fucked up. Kids are dying. They got a lower life expectancy. Their life expectancy in Baltimore overall is 20 years below the worldwide norm. Jesus Christ, in an American city. I guess it's okay if they're a majority black, right? And that's the whole point. Here you got somebody out there, he wants to talk about the president, how fucked up the president is. Listen, it's just like another country. Don't come here from Africa or somewhere in the Middle East, which is Africa, and your shit's all screwed up. Nobody knows anything. They couldn't fix it if they tried. And yet all of a sudden you show up here and you got a solution for every problem in the place, which is 1,000,000 times better than the place that you came from. How are you going to solve the problems in D.C.? I've been to D.C. You know what I've never seen in D.C. other than after a Democratic rally? Trash in the streets. I didn't see no trash on the streets, even though it is the highest rate of bed bugs in the United States. Okay, I didn't see any rats. You follow what I'm saying? If you are accosted in the street, they got cameras on every corner. So guess what happens? There's going to be evidence of who did what to who. But you go to Baltimore, even after $1.8 billion from Obama, and you got to wonder why the schools can't be heated in the wintertime. And that's my whole point. But because I'm a white guy, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because the majority of the leadership is black, when in reality, the majority of the leadership, it doesn't matter the color of their skin. They are ignoring their responsibility to their constituents, to the people that voted them in, because of their political affiliation, cut and dry. Yeah. And I hate to tell you this, the Republicans ain't doing no better for them. That's why they ain't voting Republican, because they're not going into those cities. Because they're scared. And so they're not giving them an alternative.
Hey, hold on. We got new guests in here, y'all. We got
everything that I'm talking about when it comes to a hood mentality.
Hello?
Yo, why is King? He's sitting there. Let him talk. We gotta have a conversation, man.
Here we go. What's up?
We got Black Male Talk.
What's going on?
What's up, brother?
What's going on, brother? How you doing, Maurice?
What's up?
What's going on, panel? So I guess we're having a good discussion. I haven't been in one of these discussions in almost like about 2 months. 2 months. I am a black conservative. I've been on both sides. I've seen both sides. I can tell you right now, I always tell people I'd rather have an open racist than a closet racist. And I would say from the guy who was speaking earlier, he brought up some good points. It hurts, but they are true. Black people and police relationships have never been that good. But it's also in a classism type of mentality. It's a lot easier when you can go to an underprivileged neighborhood and literally do things or take out your anger or frustration, or you're looking at people from a distraught thing. And I get it. You would think that I'm talking about, oh, well, he's talking about the Black community. No, I'm talking about, I've been to, I have people who live in trailers, or as y'all.
Yeah, but there's white people in those same communities. That's the whole point. It's like,
that's the thing about
it. It ain't about color. Everyone's concentrating on color when it's really about class.
The thing about it is, now I hear you with that, Keith. I'm not disfranchising that. It's just, and I'm not disfranchising.
I'm disagreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, no, I know you're agreeing. I know you're agreeing with me. I see. I hear the passion. And it is like that. I try to tell people, it's a big generational distrust. You understand? Because you're hoping that it's when you pray for something to happen, but a God does not answer. You vote for a difference, but the difference doesn't happen. It's like you keep getting passed up. Maybe you get passed up by the Arab, then you get passed up by the Latin, then you're like, God damn, I've been trying to play by the rules. I've helped, don't give to this society, but you keep telling me I'm the lesser of the community of the U.S. In one point, you're like, shit, I got the world against me. So what do I have but to look at the underbelly? And not to say all blacks take that, because that is a very negative stereotype, but it's a tiring point of a classism whipping boy, where the rich boy makes an issue or has a problem, but he doesn't get the chastisement. Guess who gets the chastisement? His whipping boy gets the chastisement. Well, we got drug problems. Well, guess what? I can barely afford to get a down payment on a car. How do I get drugs shipped into the country? Somebody has to teach me how to do it. Correct? You understand? Like, I remember when I was like in the South, you make good money selling weed. You make mediocre money selling weed. You make decent money selling some dope. You make big money selling meth. Meth is big money. It's cheap. It gets around everywhere. Shit, you busting up a meth lab, you calling in the whole SWAT team for that. You ain't sending in no cop. You going and calling in.
You gotta call in. You gotta call in. You gotta call in special.
You gotta call in. See, that's the thing about it.
Yeah, because it's dangerous. That's like going into the Iraq and trying to disarm an IED. You don't know what they got rigged up in that place. Right. It's all different, and they're all strung out on fucked up shit. They're breathing in them chemicals that really you're not going to think right just from the chemicals.
Now, so when we look at that. Because it was like, well, we understand.
Yo, you should know I got a meth lab right behind me. No, boy said I had a meth lab.
So, like I said, when we look at these types of emphasis of the things, and sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, for me as a black man, I don't like being the scapegoat or the open door for talking points for a lot of people, rather than just calling out the issue for what it is. And that's a damn problem, because I understand that, yo, man, when they say that, why don't you black people have respect for the police? Well, I'm like, well, shit, if you don't respect me, then I can't respect you. So after a while, guess what? We handle our own type of way. Just like I watched my friend, he's from a white community. He was like, it's funny, Joe, whenever I call the police, and this is nothing bashing the police, but I got law enforcement in my family. I'm probably served. And the thing about it is, you're giving an honor and you're giving a duty to protect and serve. But when you violate that of the people that trust in you, not to do harm, but to actually protect us from harm, you know what I'm saying? But it's also a two-way street for those of us who are in the community. But it's like, and I had to tell people, like, listen, I've had it where when I was young, they would say, don't trust the police. And I would say, why? That I want to be a policeman. No, you don't. You don't want to be no policeman. I want people out for them. But I always wonder where the origin of that type of hate that I'm told that this is an evil man or a woman that I need to watch
There
out
you go.
for.
You know what?
Like,
and I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to say this real quick. But that's really it. If you think about it, it's called the seed of hate. Check this out. When you take a young man, and I don't care who you are. I mean, let's just take this and just step it out, because we're talking about human beings. Listen, all these guys. Look, I for one want to take the power. Words are power, and we give them power, but we have the ability to take power away from words. All right, and the word racist is one of them. It is a word that is given more power than it deserves, because the reality is this: we ain't cars, man. You're not a Maserati, and I'm not a motherfucking Toyota. All right, you're not the high-end car, and I'm not the low-end car, and vice versa. We're human beings. We might all look different on the outside, but the difference between us and cars, and I'm using this as a metaphor, okay, is that you can't take the heart out of a Maserati. Let's say you can't take the alternator out of a Maserati and put it in a Hyundai. Yeah. You might be able to if you're a really good guy. You start changing some wires over, but it really don't work that way. All right, those parts have you got to buy the special part for that special car. We're not cars. Human beings are interchangeable machines. Color has nothing to do with nothing. There's only one race. It's the human race. And if you take and you plant a seed in a young man or woman's mind, like, you know, it used to be the thing that men did is they sat down and they talked to their sons or their daughters about the birds and the bees, right? That's innocuous, right? You got to teach them about reproduction. That way you don't end up with an illegitimate child. We've got in our communities, black and white, parents that spend more time warning their kids about a hate that hasn't even manifested itself in that child's life yet than the things that child is going to face as a human being, like sex. So, and rather than telling them about the birds and the bees and wrap that rascal, now we got 1,000 black babies being aborted every single day because they did spend the time to tell their kid that cop might kill them when they get stopped for a stupid traffic violation. Now, the seed of hate has been planted because now he's afraid. Fear is the root of hate. Fear is the root of hate. So if you tell somebody, fear that guy because they may kill you, eventually you're going to hate them from your fear. You don't want to have, fear makes you feel powerless. In order to not feel powerless, you have to overcome that fear. And so now what's happened? Now there's a challenge that was never introduced. It's like I said earlier, everybody's an asshole, right? But if you tell your kid that every cop you run into is an asshole, the first thing is going to happen when he stops you, rather than being polite and reaching down and going, here's my shit. In your mind, you assume he stopped you, not because you had a tail light out. So in your mind, you got a million things going through your mind. First off, you got your hands on the wheel because your dad done told you they might shoot you. Now you're scared. And now what do? It's fight or flight. Now you can't run. Now you're scared. Fight or flight instinct comes in. You start breathing different and your brain reacts in a way that you can't control. Endorphins are released. It's anxiety. All these things are controlled by breathing. So when you plant this seed of fear in someone's brain, now the cop comes, his fear is going to manifest itself, not with like, what's the matter, officer? What did you stop me for? Here's my paperwork. You stopped me because I'm black, or you stopped me because I'm a poor white guy. You stopped me because I got I got my bandana on that says Harley Davidson. So you think I'm a meth dealer. Whatever the reason that cop stops, do you believe he stopped you for, is going to put into you immediately what? Conflict. You're stopping me not because I did something wrong, but because now my perceived notion of what he's thinking. I don't know what he's thinking, neither did Dad. When Dad planted that seed of hate or fear in my brain. When Dad sent me out into the world to fear the one guy that when my neighborhood's getting overrun by drug dealers, I should be able to talk to, but I can't because I got a bad relationship with the cops. I never established a relationship with the cops, and my neighborhood just gets worse and worse and worse because why should I talk to the cops? Because they hate me because of the color of my skin. When in reality, we work together in a community to police our community. And it used to be that way, especially in the black community. The people don't even understand the history of the black community in America. They don't understand how the Harlem Renaissance. It's so sad. And yet you've got all these black leaders that rather than saying, here's how we did the best that we ever did in our history, they plant seeds of fear. And what is that for? It's a seed of fear for control. Because now they are back to what Facebook is, right? Hey, I'm going to limit your reach. Your videos aren't going to reach anyone, but if you give me $10, it's going to reach 1,000 more people. That's a crime. And yet here we got companies like Facebook committing crimes like that. And the average person might not even be able to define that violation, that criminal violation that's contained within that one transaction. But most people recognize. They did a study with monkeys, and I'm talking about monkeys. These monkeys, they had one monkey in one cage and a monkey in another cage. They rewarded the one monkey with sweet ass grapes, and they gave the other monkey for the same task this nasty ass shit. Eventually, the one monkey that kept getting the nasty ass shit and seeing the other monkey get the grapes, because he knew the taste of the grape. They let him know, but they kept rewarding them with shit. Eventually, that monkey didn't want to take no shit anymore. And when they shoved the shit under there, that motherfucker said, fuck you and your shit. And that's the way humans are. We're as simple as a couple monkeys, right? We want to be treated equally. And so if you see the white guys in the white neighborhoods getting shot and then their fucking murders are getting solved, you got white girls getting abducted and all of a sudden a young black man's getting brought in to be held accountable for burning her ass. Why aren't the young black men and young black women who are being murdered the same way being treated the same? So when you have that unequal treatment, you're going to always have within any dynamic the person that says that's not fair. And that's why America is different than all other countries, because you don't need no special law to be fair. All our laws are supposed to be equally applied to everyone. And until that happens, the black community and the poor white community that is suffers at the hands of these people that don't have a grasp on what's right or wrong, they're going to continue to suffer. But we're also going to suffer as long as we plant a seed of fear in our young people's minds, rather than give them the power to overcome that fear. Then now, listen, just stop giving your paperwork. If your shit's straight, take the ticket and go. If he talks to you in the wrong way, make a complaint. Half the time they got a video cam on it now, so they can't lie. You go in, tell the truth. Don't make no shit up like these people do, because when you make shit up, it takes power away from the truth. The more people lie and the more people give power to a lie, the less power the truth has. The world is going to hell in a handbasket because too many people believe outright lies to be true.
I agree with what you're saying. The thing about it, and like I said, I don't try to take sides. Honestly, like I said, I don't trust Democrats as much as I don't trust the Republicans. Neither side has proven to wholly earn my trust. Especially when it comes to right is right and wrong is wrong.
That's it. That's the whole thing. The minute you say I don't take sides, I say, yeah, you do, because here's the deal. The Democrats ain't right and the Republicans ain't right. Just like all cops are wrong if they allow one cop to be bad in front of them and don't say nothing. The problem, there's only one thing. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And we need to do what's right. And we need to stop electing the people that don't even know right from wrong to be in positions where they can continue to allow our cities to degenerate. And they're lying.
I'm going to say something that they told us when we was in the service. I sat down with a Czech soldier and a Russian soldier. And we were talking at the chow, and after that we went out on a mission. And my command told me to stay away from them Russians, and I was like, hey, we just ate breakfast together. What's the problem? They were like, well, what could be your war is we are right. Whoever tells you at the top of the head that that's your enemy for the day, that's what you go by. And the thing about it is, when it comes to social media, when it comes to a lot of media outlets and stuff, the narratives get skewed and chewed and they get changed around. I thought I was a hero in one area, come back home to another area, I'm a villain. I thought I was a saint in one place.
I'm not going nowhere. I'm listening.
So when we come and look at these types of situations, and like I said, I have no regrets in what I've done. I just wish we could have done it differently in some areas. I'm proud infantry. I've been on the front lines. I served over there in Afghanistan and Iraq, and also in other Middle Eastern countries. The thing about it that we gotta understand that when it's coming to looking at these politics and these politicians, and yes, I can openly say yes, the Democratic counties and areas, they have a lot of issues. We're not foreign to this type of problem. And the thing about it is that these things can't be overlooked. And they can't go overlooked. And the thing about it is, and because people always say, Black people, why do y'all have such affiliation or infinite affinity for the Democrats? I said, well, at the time, the last civil rights leader that we did respect, he died making peace with that person. So it was so much of a respect of this was the group that helped us first. So this is the group that we're going to go with out of the Jim Crow.
Yeah, but that's the biggest misconception, though. You know, that's the sad thing about it is that most Black folk today, they believe that, see, the Democrats fought it the whole way through. In the end, they even fought it up to the last minute.
Hear the timeline I said, Keith. I said for Jim Crow. So what's going on is you're hearing from the, you know what I'm saying? Because then after that, Lyndon B. Johnson said, I'm gonna have these niggers voting Democrat. All I'm gonna do is
the whole thing right there.
Now, so when that happened, we're looking at it from, we're gonna give them free, because to be fair, Black people weren't allowed welfare. You weren't allowed welfare and a lot of stuff at one point. That was given to poor whites. Those who are widows and people from that were coming back from war that didn't have, they were allowed to have welfare in SNAP.
Well, actually, it was actually worse than that. Here, let me say something. It was worse than that. See, what it was this. They would let white people have welfare, and this is a sad truth. When it first instituted it, white people could have it, and only Black women who had no male figure in the house could be qualified for welfare. Now, at that time, what ended up happening is that a lot of men who were actually living they were cohabitating with their woman, with their kids. And really, only thing that was missing, is a job. And so many people don't realize that we had and this is where a lot of people, like, when people want to start racism, they want to talk about institutionalized racism or mistreatment.
Yeah,
they talk about one thing, and that's not institutionalized. That's not against one race or another. That's just the police. The way that they operate is basically the way they're always going to operate. And it don't matter if you're Black or white. They're going to get away with what they get away with until the people that are in there change it. But when it came down to like welfare, they were splitting up Black families. They literally, in order for people that were impoverished, they want their kids to eat. So now here, like, what's the easiest way to keep a man attentive? It's like feed him, and he's in the house with you. He ain't out. But once you took the father out of the household in order to feed the kids, they broke up the Black family. And so what we had, we had this exponential breakdown.
But Keith, imagine how that. Now you would go above and beyond for your family, correct? You would. I believe that
up to a certain degree, yeah. See, no, but I thank God this, bro.
Here's the thing about it is,
I'm a Marine, man, so I would never. I know this from life. A lot of people, they get in like down moments and shit like that. But all I have to say to anyone, the minute you start feeling like your life is desperate and you ain't got nowhere to go, imagine this: you got this far, you survived everything you survived already. So why you got to be down on yourself? You get what I'm saying? You survived this far. You can't let someone tell you that you can't survive. You can't let someone take that understanding that we're gonna make it, right? But the reality of it is we made it this far, but we have to draw the line. We have to say, you know what? We can't take this neglect anymore. You cannot continue to peddle to us. Like you keep saying that you're going to do this for us and you're not. That's why 6% of the black male population is incarcerated. That is unacceptable. Now, am I saying release them all? Hell no. Because the fact of the matter is we've got basically a breakdown within our society. White, black, Mexican, it don't matter what color you are. And so we got a lot of people in jail, a lot of them, not just black ones. Does that mean they should be out of jail because we failed them? Hell no. We got to correct the problems that failed them, but they're nothing. You can take all of them out of jail if you want. And it's just going to increase crime in the street unless some of them have been rehabilitated already. That's not our problem is the future. We got to prevent the incarceration. We want to stop abortion in this country. We got to instill into somebody some sense of responsibility and accountability so that, look, instead of telling someone that the cops hate you, tell them, look, dude, if you really love yourself, the first thing you're going to do is invest in some magnums. And I'm talking about condoms, not bullets, okay? Wrap that rascal, have fun, okay? And be responsible. Go out and get a job, find a job, because guess what? There's plenty of jobs out there right now. It's the lowest unemployment in American history, especially in the black community, and yet they want to say, what has Trump done for the black community yet? His policies, whether intentional or inadvertent, have benefited the black community. The only ones that say it hasn't are the people that have a vested interest in the status quo, like the politicians that have allowed Baltimore to be run into the ground and all these other cities to be run into the ground. And the Republicans are just as responsible because you were listening. If you don't give those inner cities the same attention you give to the cities that vote for you, you cannot expect those people to vote Republican if you don't even give them the alternative. So if you never have the alternative, you don't have no choice. And if the only one that's saying they care about you is the one that's shitting on you, and the one that could help you doesn't even give a shit about you, you end up feeling desperate as hell, sad, afraid, lonely, neglected, and more than anything, even when you're just ignoring someone, that person feels targeted. And so until that changes, we're going to have this problem. And we can only change it together.
So let's look at that. Because when we had the crack era for the blacks, that was a period when black families were being ripped apart. More so like when it looks at the ICE, when we're looking at ICE. Now we're looking at it for the opioid era for whites, but we didn't see. I'm giving you what we're looking at from the perspective of what we talk about on black YouTube channels, and we're looking at it and we say, well, that's funny because now that they're on drugs is bad. Why ain't they getting the same type of heat like we did? Like I find
here's the deal with the opioid epidemic is that like what's happening is that now all of a sudden, and I brought this point up. I don't know how many times I have to say it. It's the way they move, bro. They ignored the shooting up in New York City, right? You got dead people up in New York City. They ignored it, right? They don't want to address that problem. That's why. That's it. Period. You look at the opioid epidemic. Do you know why they give a shit now? Because the opioid epidemic, it's not just the epidemic on opioids. It's not just affecting the poor white folk and black folk. See, the poor white folk and black folk that are actually being the most affected by the opioid epidemic are the ones dealing the pills. So the ones that are dealing the pills, they're getting the pills, they're changing them and then getting them for money, right? They're not taking them. The ones that are addicted to them now, it's all the rich white folk that have been addicted to painkillers and all this other shit. So now you've got two victims. Now you got the poor folk, and they're always complaining about all the young white folk and black folk that are dealing those opioids and getting life sentences now. Because now what they've done, rather than take a responsibility for not curbing the addiction level that comes from doctors overprescribing and misprescribing, right? Because they're doctors, so they can get away with everything. You got all these people that are dying, and since they don't fit into that demographic, the poor black and white and whatever Hispanics out there in those neighborhoods, they don't give a fuck. They're still locking us up. Now they want to lock us up. If I was out there peddling freaking oxycodone or something, and they busted me, I think 100 tablets. I don't know what the law is. I'm going to prison for life.
Now, hang on, Keith. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, so some young black man peddling pills.
Now, Keith, one of the biggest things that black people were griping for was Medicare or getting medical insurance. Okay. Now, here's the thing about it. You brought it up a good point. You said rich folk who can get medication. You see that right there, and it's not even just rich folk. You got upper middle class and you have middle class. Why isn't the same?
Let me say one thing for everybody that's listening. When I say rich folk, see a lot of people that would be listening to this. It's just like I went back with old boy earlier. When I say it, I want you to understand something, because unlike a lot of people that are listening to this, and how do I know this? Because I know. And there's going to be people out there going to deny it. But I'm not looking at it like white people. See, most people, they think rich people, especially young black folk, they feel oppressed. And so when someone says rich people, they think white. When I say rich people, I'm talking about anybody with more money than you and me. It don't matter what color they are. Denzel Washington is rich. He's just as susceptible to motherfucking oxycodone addiction as anyone else. If he gets in an accident and he has to take them, and the next thing you know, he's human. So it ain't. So when I say rich folk, anybody can be a victim to drug addiction.
But hang on now, Keith, and see there goes the thing about it. The imagery of the black person has been stained so badly in this country. When you say rich person, you don't think of a black person. You think of a white person. When you think
that's why I said what I said, man, and it's the same.
So the thing about it is when and it's not that I'm side out of you, but I think on a different level. I get what you're saying. But when we look at it,
I clarified that for the listener.
So when we look at it, where I see, you don't see black people, you don't see black ownership of a business when it comes to getting banked, and literally banks were found out about. Guess what? They're not giving the same type of treatment of getting a business loan. You'd rather give me a college loan, which that put me in debt for up to 20 years. But when I ask for a business loan, which I can possibly build up my community or try to reestablish some type of circulation of currency, I can't get that. And so it's like I got different.
I love that you brought that up.
Now, hang on now.
I love that because your mind talks about that. We had your mind on earlier, and that's the thing. I want to just interject. We have to build what they call, and this is Jeremiah, a direct quote from the earlier guest. I wish he'd have come back, but he had an emergency with his family, and it might be bad because he's in Peoria, and that's a bad area. And he already lost a son to gun violence. Mm-hmm. Damn, I forgot what I was interrupting for. I'm sorry. Yo, if you was here, you could smack me.
You triggered me, damn you, Hammer, you triggered me.
No, I'm not. No, man. We are communicating in a way that needs to happen. We're actually having a conversation. Now, I wish I could actually rewind it, because I guarantee if I heard the last thing he said, it would tell me what I was going to say. But I'm 52 years old, man. So my shit's about done, and I'm drinking vodka.
So the thing about it is this. The thing about it. So when we come at looking at it, one of the things about it, and I will tell anybody, is this: like when we speak about this, every community has their own type of central circulation of currency of how they build up. Okay, that's fair. One of the main things that as black people that they want is just like, listen, all I want to do is fucking be able to redo what I tried to do before. I had it where I was, and I asked people to look it up, where we just want to actually build up businesses. We want to build up our own businesses, and we want to be able to circulate the money amongst ourselves, so that way some of us can rise up from lower class to middle class, and possibly upper middle class, and probably more. But see, that's going to take time of moving the block. But see, the thing about it is, for a lot of us, we would love to stay in our black community. I would love to stay there, but I also know that the jobs ain't there like that. It's more so gets pulled out to everyone else, or we have a situation where we're getting drained out. And when somebody says, well, pick it up by your bootstraps and take it from me. I'm upper middle class. I make great money. The problem about it is this. I understood I had to leave. If I could have stayed and worked at, Wright's grocery store, or I shop at IGA and keep the local grocery store going, or different stuff like that going inside of my community, I would gladly do that. But when I see big business and big corporate able to over capsize us and start to pull out and monopolize a lot of our people. And Mo knows exactly what I'm talking about, because we watched it as different businesses inside of the community get drained out because there's no way I can actually doggone pull out. How is it possible that an Asian parlor store get an ICE bus and they bust that up for doggone sex trafficking, drugs, or indecent preparation of food, but then they can open up another store in doggone 2 weeks. There is no black entrepreneurship that can literally bounce back that fast.
A lot.
And so when we say
asking me a question, I want to answer part of that question for you, because you did ask me a question, and this is something that a lot of people don't realize. And this is part of this. We live in an age, like they study ages. You have the age of the Renaissance. You have the Dark Ages, okay? You have the age of Voltaire. All right, you have all these ages. We actually live in what they're probably going to label as the age of ignorance. And one of the biggest problems that we have, especially, in the black community, and it comes from a lot of times these leaders that create a misconception. See, because here's the deal. You just said something that is so painfully obvious to many people that they wonder why it's not answered. And what is that question? Why is it that Indians or Chinese people or Koreans or whoever can all of a sudden show up in a black neighborhood? They got a business, right? They seem to be turning a profit, and yet the same black people in the community can't get the same loan and they can't get the same deal. Well, first off, the people in charge lie. And what do I mean by that? A lot of these Indian-owned businesses and Chinese and Korean-owned businesses, one of the reasons they employ these illegal immigrants from these other countries and ICE gets to raid them is because they have to make an agreement with the federal government. A lot of people don't even realize the biggest misconception is they think that they're not taxed, but they're worse than taxed, because of the largest percentage of their profits is claimed by the United States up front. So a lot of these businesses literally they're just working, and they have a business, but the reality is these motherfuckers are making very little money off of those businesses, but because all of a sudden they show up in a community where the majority of the people there can't even, you go in for a house loan, and all of a sudden you can't get a house loan, right? Because they don't think you got the right job and you ain't got this, and yet you got these guys are getting business loans from the United States government, and yet the same people in the community where the businesses that the government is helping to create can't. It's wrong. But it's our politicians, what they do is they want you and me to be mad at Indians and these Koreans, when we don't even know that they're actually, just like illegal aliens, are being exploited by the politicians, the black community. The whole point of our video today. And when those two folk came on earlier and we all started arguing in the beginning, and all the different comments in the comment stream, it actually validated the entire point that we were trying to make by doing this video, is that so many people are everything that they say, the things that they hold for the greatest amount of belief for, are not like you or me.
You just said that in the black community. Now, keyword now. Hold on.
I didn't mean to say the black community.
It's fine. No,
that was a fuck up.
No. It's okay. It's fine. We're intellectually having a discussion.
Wait. On the perception of the businesses. Wait, I did say that in regards to perception of the businesses, and I'm only going by numerous conversations sitting in listen, I'll drive there right now where I grew up, and I sitting around smoking a L with motherfuckers, and we talk about this all the time, and I listen, and I know this, dude. This has been a gripe since the freaking 70s, man, and it's a truth that can't be ignored.
Well, see, the thing about it is,
So yes, I did say in the black community they do have that misconception.
Now, so what happened was they had to pass the FTC. The FTC was it's the Federal Trade Commission Act. Now, what happened is first off, what we're looking at is that when you're getting generationally capped off, and this is one of the biggest issues that different farmers were fighting about, where you're not getting the same that you put into your business, or you're not getting the same fair treatment. And see, there's it comes about the same fair treatment. And you see, it's not about just the black community, but see, the thing about it is when you're watching another community can easily come in and overtake you. Because let's be for real. And I give you a thumbs up to that. You can't go to no white suburban community.
You got to realize that was the whole explanation that I just made when I compared the two monkeys in the cage. Because that's the same thing. What you're saying is exactly what I was saying.
Okay, so when we know that, if you know that, and only see the thing about it that we forget, the civil rights movement was purely fought on. Listen, man, I'm not asking for no fucking handouts. All I'm saying is just give me my fear. If I put in 8 hours just like you, I want the same fair payment of my 8 hours. I'm not asking for I gotta work 8 and I didn't say I gotta work 8 hours and 4 more hours plus extra to make what you make. That's bullshit. When I work 8 hours, I want my fair 8-hour treatment. So when I say, yo, I've been paying my tax dollars and my kids aren't getting the same AC treatment, listen, man, the same way we can do doggone
that's my whole point.
We can write doggone bills and doggone do listen, fuck y'all laws. I'm going to just actually what does the president do where if the Congress doesn't agree with him, he just does it himself? It's like, listen, man, you're the guy who can swing the hammer and break the walls. Or you can break.
No, he can. And here's the
thing about it. No, here's the thing about it. Here's the thing. I'll let you talk. So I'm going to start giving the stuff. If you know you can do right, and if you know you can make the change, then at some point, if there's no change, then I have to just be the change for myself. But when I'm doing it my own way, no one else gets to judge how I do the change after so long. Because guess what? You fuckers sat on the outside and just watch. And this is the thing about it. We have white people who are boots on the ground that are helping. That's fine. And I do encourage blacks that at some point we got to do it ourselves. We don't need outsourced help. And then that's not no disrespect, but if I can't fix the problem myself at some type of extent, then guess what? Then I really truly did not get it done. And that's one of the biggest things about it. And I mean, I'm not preaching for no type of segregation or anything like that, but I understand that it's sad and it's kind of sometimes dehumanizing when I say we gotta have white people come in our community to fix our shit. I don't want that. I just want my fair. I would just want my fair. I just want my fair shake of shit. I want it where the same way where if I watch a black boy and a white boy get in trouble for a fucking crime, I want them to both do the fucking time, the same amount of penance. Don't tell me, and I can pull up the case where this kid drove around and he drove around, he drove gangbangers around and helped them commit a killing. That kid got only fucking probation. That was fucking bullshit. And you know the thing about it that they pulled it up to? He was mentally he mentally was sick. No, don't give him the mentally fucking sick card. Give that dude the fucking time just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? This is why now, and right now what's going on is we're going to start seeing, this is why you're seeing the outcry for minimum wage. I'm not for that because I'm a black business owner, but I understand the cry of why they're saying for minimum wage because you see for so long, there is like for so long when big corporate got to run its mix, and when big corporate gets to do whatever they want to do, guess what? The little man feels it very valid. And the thing about it is, and we get that when minimum wage goes up, everyone is going to feel it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And everybody's going to take that hit. So now what happened is, let's look at it. We can always look at it. History always repeats itself. When the Supreme, it's supposed to be a circulation of somebody from the lower class should be able to elevate. But when you have issues of redlining that purposely keep certain sects of people or groups in a certain type of bind, guess what? After so long, you keep on putting the weight down on that table, those legs start to actually give in. Those brackets that are in the legs, they start to become loose. Why? But every time you bend in, the boards start to chip away more and more on that bracket, where after a while, wow, the table's uneven. Now the table leg is starting to bend. Now the table leg breaks. So what happens is the U.S. is now at its benchmark of now having a table flip, because we're looking at it where the ones that of the power that be are now going to no longer be at there. So now what happens is, guess what? Yeah, I agree with you, Jerry. They begin to buckle. And you see, this is the problem. Because no longer where, see, and I'm fine, and now you're seeing it now where, guess what? Now the immigrant is going to come in and is going to replace that of the majority census. The Latin base is coming in. The doggone, and I have nothing against the Latin, because they're coming in. They're doing what they do best. They repopulate. They grow up in conservative families, and after that they start to build. So now you're starting to see where at one point where it used to be a white and black town, it's now a black, white, Latino, and multicultural town. And the issue with that is that we're not properly circulating the currency. We're not properly actually, and shout out to those, I think in Philadelphia, they had to kick off 9 police officers because they found out that they were making racist tweets and messages talking about black people. And you're saying, well, damn, how do I take law enforcement serious where y'all make, I get you, I can catch 3 monkeys in one damn day, or I bet you I can do this. When you know and you're finding out that this is the people of the establishment that is supposed to protect,
yo, you know what's amazing?
Children, then that's
what's amazing is.
But see, hang on, I'll let you talk. When we're looking at it, when it comes,
bro, we were just me and Mo were just talking about.
But no. Let's. But we're talking about it. That we're talking about that.
We were just talking about the Philadelphia police.
No. But see, that's the thing about it, is that when it comes to these areas, and the thing about it is, it's easy to use the black community because we've always been used as the talking point. When you can talk from the lower tier, you can always build off of that. Or you can always say, hey, look at what we got going on in the black community. You see how I took this black boy from rags and I raised him to riches? I'm like, well, fuck that. Show me that damn white girl who doggone gets touched by her daddy and pimped out, and show me how you can take her from a mentally abused, institutionalized system and turn her into a well-deserved human being. See, when you can actually do that, that's something that I will applaud to. But see, we don't get that. You know, when we're seeing that people are proudly, and I'm sorry, man. It hasn't been me. It hasn't been my race of people pushing for illegals to be able to fucking vote. That hasn't been something I've been doing. But I'm like, fuck that. I'm trying to get black people to vote. Y'all trying to get illegals to fucking be able to vote. Like, that shit, when you open up Pandora's box for that type of bullshit, that's the type of shit that y'all gotta remind yourself is going to come back to bite you in your ass. When you use illegal immigrants for your jobs, or you turn a blind eye to doggone MS-13 people who literally are doing shit, but hey, so long as it's not happening in my community, it's fine. Because see, that's the thing about it. Everybody knows that, listen,
whenever Becky want to get high, she goes down to Maurice's goddamn apartment and fucks with me, JJ, and the crew. Whenever doggone Tanya wants to have an abortion, she goes down to the black community and gets her abortion. Oh, we see this shit.
Where the white women at?
So exactly. Trust me. We see y'all kids come down to the minority. We see them come down to the minority community and they get right there and the shit with us and they get to party, drink, fuck, smoke, and do all that shit. And they're like, oh my God, where did all this happen from? Hold up, bitch. Your kid brought us the fucking money, told us how to make the shit. We just did it, but we just did it better. You can do it on a corporate level. We just do it on a street pharmaceutical level. And the thing about it is, that's why in The Godfather, the Godfather said, listen, don't sell the black people dope. Whatever you do to them, it's going to come back at you twofold. But you forget, whatever affects me will eventually always affect you. Whatever we do is going to come back to you. So now we're hearing at a thought culture, a rape culture, and as well as a mentally unstable culture. This shit is getting more and more worse. It is no longer just the black community issue, because guess what? I don't see no doggone gay parades in my doggone community. They go to your community to do that. I don't see no doggone opioid doggone.
They ain't in my community.
I can't afford, listen, black people can't afford fucking opioids. So that way we already knew when they brought that shit, they're like, well, that's not us this time because fuck, it's karma's a bitch. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I can't. That's the thing about it. It's the karma of the fucking land. When it comes
if
to
you want the best herb prices, you got to go to the black community.
But see, that's the thing about it. Now here's the thing about it. When we talk about best herb prices,
that's the worst. And it's not even funny, but it's true.
But see, that's the thing about it. I'm competing the black street pharmaceutical competing against big pharmaceutical because we already understood. I try to do it the nice way. How many? Let's be for real. How many e-cigarette shops do you see owned by black people? Hardly none. If I could own a fucking e-cigarette shop, guess what? I would probably be making some bank fucking money. If I could.
Yo, you better have done it. Now they're gonna come down on them. Now they're gonna put them out of business.
Out of this.
Hey, likewise, send you an invite, man. I'll try to get you on here likewise.
Now, you know why they're gonna put them out of business? Because white boys are getting lung damage from that shit now.
Hold up now.
So as soon as
hold up now. So now y'all want to put it out of business when y'all babies get fucking hurt. But when we were doing it, it wasn't a problem. Man, get the fuck out.
You see what I'm saying?
Nah.
Yo, I'm trying to get you aggravated. It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said,
likewise.
Yo, man, all I know is this. The whole time I'm sitting in my truck trying to keep the air on, and now my damn truck overheated.
See, hold on.
My motherfucking truck overheated. You overheated my truck.
Listen, no. Here's the thing about it. Black people. We already knew about. Everybody in the black community isn't a gangbanger. I wish motherfuckers stop thinking that everybody in the black community fucking walks around with a fucking Uzi and all that.
No, come on, man. No, you're taking away all the fun.
Wait, here's the funny thing about it. Now, here's the funny thing about it.
There ain't nothing funny about it.
Gun. No, it is funny because I laugh at this. I laugh at the comedy of the world. When I was in Florida, they wanted to come to my house to do a sting to pull out take my firearms. I said, okay, I'm gonna go back to South Carolina and go buy more firearms. I can give a shit. This is America. You can get a gun. And I said, well, I find it interesting. You can come to my house to get the guns for me. You literally just had little Tommy shoot up a goddamn school. Now all of a sudden, guns are a fucking problem. I said, you want to know
what are you talking about, man?
Now, here's the thing about it. I told them, I said, you know the crazy thing about it? You never hear black kids shooting up a school. And they said, what do you mean by that? I said, the reason why you never hear black kids shooting up a school, because we know that it's the one place a black child can go to literally get food, a peace of mind, and literally probably to get a break from the fucking world. I go there for that. I don't give a shit to learn about doggone sexual. You can be whatever the fuck you want to be because already
that's my whole point, man.
But here's the thing about it.
That's my whole point.
But see, the thing about it is, it's now coming over and spilling into our community, and then that's when when it's in our community, it's not a fucking issue.
Okay,
when it goes to other communities, then it's a fucking big issue. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, get the fuck out of here. We had that same problem for 10 years and we survived. We survived crack. So, like, to me, whenever shit happens in the country, I don't freak out anymore. Because I'm like, yo, dude, I'm born. I was born into this type of shit. Like, censorship for me, they've been trying to censor me for 200 goddamn years. Honestly, it doesn't even bother me now. Only thing I've been asking for is I want us to have fair ownership of businesses. And the thing about it is they'll say like, well, y'all got to go to school. Well, I said, why the fuck would I want to go to school when doggone most people can't pay off their fucking debt? Most of your most successful people in the world didn't even fucking go to college. They literally just said, I'm just going to go do it, and just did it. And so
that's a falsehood, bro. That's a falsehood. That's a falsehood.
That's not
yes,
false.
It is. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's a falsehood, bro.
Yes, it is. You can literally go to trade school and go start doing do work around the neighborhood. Literally pick up 6 to 9 goddamn houses. Go get a truck. Go start off and start going to other communities.
But that's still
hire people on. You don't have to go to. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to.
Trade school essentially is a college. You're
learning a discipline. College. No,
it might as well be. You're learning a discipline.
No. Don't say it might as well be. So don't try to.
It might as well be. It might as well be.
It is.
Or you're learning a discipline. You're learning a skill and you're learning a discipline.
It's trade school or college.
Actually, it's better than college.
Thank you.
It's better than college because here's what makes trade school better than college. See, you can go to college and you can get a degree in hip hop philosophy, but unless you get a job at Tommy Boy in 1985, which you can't, then you ain't never gonna make no money fucking being a professor of hip hop philosophy unless your name is KRS-One. So but if you get a motherfucking degree in welding. No, what I'm saying is you can get a degree in welding, which is a trade. All trades are marketable. That's why they call them a trade, because you can trade your skill for money. And so it's like, and that's what college is supposed to be. And if you're going to college and the biggest exploitation that we have is that a college will sell you, as our new guest said, a discipline that doesn't exist. So what they do is they say, here you are. We're going to educate you. We're going to validate this education that you're going to pay credit on for the next 40, 50 years, or maybe until you're dead. You're never going to practice your studies in real life because you can't. There's no job for it. And secondly, you're never, ever going to be able to pay the loan off. So what happens is but that person who received that quote unquote education, which is worthless, will get in a conversation with you, me, Mo, our new guest, and automatically, because they got a piece of paper that says they got a degree in something that they didn't even pay for yet, they're going to smack you in the face with that degree and say, shut up, I know more than you.
Well, here's the thing, man, is that when they start talking about the student loans and all that shit, you got to understand, like, there's so many different levels of education as far as college. I have two degrees. I don't owe shit for my loans.
The globalist, you're the globalist though.
Okay, I didn't go to Cal Berkeley. I didn't go to any super high prestigious fucking school because I'm not trying to conquer the world. Okay,
but you are the globalist. But you are the globalist.
I went to school for marketing. I went to school for marketing. I went to school for music business.
But you are globalist.
I went to school for advertisement. Okay, now what I learned, I can still carry that throughout my life. I mean, you talking about welding? I took welding in high school. Yeah, I still know how to weld. MIG, TIG, AC, SLing. I know all that shit still. But what I'm saying is that, like, as long as you don't just sit there and think that because you want it to happen, it's gonna happen, or you see somebody else with the shit that it's gonna happen. It doesn't work that way. Whether you're going to whether you're going to school or whether you're going to school, whether it's a trade school or whatever, as long as you pick some shit up along the way to where whether you get a job interview for welding or whatever, you can talk the language and you can walk the walk.
But you claim it comes down to.
You don't know. You never know what type of job, because of your skills. You never know where you're going to end up.
Now,
okay? But you are a globalist, though.
Here's the thing about that. At a lot of schools, and I remember we had carpentry, we had masonry, we had welding, We had for the girls they
God
had.
Damn, I should have brought my ice with me.
They had home economics. We had a lot. Of, we had a lot.
Now I got my truck stalled out. I can't even put the air on.
We had a lot of trades.
Yo, this white boy gonna be shirtless in a minute.
We had a lot of trades at the high school, and guess what? If you applied yourself to a certain trade, you would have a teacher pull you aside and say, "Hey, guess what? You know what? Guess what? Christy, come here. You did pretty good with that masonry work. You did a damn good. I guess what? I got something better for you. I am going to put you in this masonry curriculum job. You're going to start out as an entry level, and you're going to work your way up. But if you stay with it throughout the summer, guess what? You'll come out making $15 to $20 an hour, and you'll automatically get hired on, and you'll get to travel and get up your experience, and you'll get certified." Right then and there, she did all that from high school for free. All she had to do was just go to class. Now, for college, guess what? I never seen it where somebody can just walk into a classroom for free. That's bullshit. You don't get to walk into a class for free.
Yeah, and I can speak on this college thing right now because Thursday my daughter was a sophomore at a four-year university, and Thursday night she's in for summer, and she tells us, "Mom, I'm not going back," and I'm like, "What? No!" But
that's what always happens.
But because she would have been the first one in our family to graduate from 4-year college, and she still can. I mean, she still can later on if she decides to. But she's always worked with her since high school. She's had this job that she works at a dog daycare. She's worked with dogs, and she wants to be a dog trainer. So she got in touch with this dog trainer around here, and the dog trainer went to a school for dog training and paid a lot of money for it. And I even told her before she even went to 4-year college, I said, "Now, if you want to do the dog training school, we'll pay for that before you waste your money for the school." Yeah. Well, she went into to the university, but now she decided to do that. But the dog trainer told her, she said, "Don't even waste your money for the dog training school." She said, "You need to shadow somebody, because you will learn way more doing that." So hopefully she's going to get with her or another dog trainer or somebody. And she even told her, she said, there's also a K2 dog where you can take dogs and do bomb sniffing at amusement parks, football stadiums, stuff like that.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. There's a catch to not getting paperwork, and that's the fact that you can only go so far. Okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have some type of paperwork. Yeah. I don't give a fuck whether you know your shit in and out, because what happens is it becomes a liability. Like if let's just say me and you own a business, Christy, right? And then we hire somebody that knows their shit, and then some shit happens, to where our insurance is, why is this motherfucker in this position? It can't be hearsay.
Yo, here's the perfect example. It's called capitalism. You know what is the greatest benefit to capitalism? Is that when you buy a Gucci bag, if all is done properly, you can guarantee that when you spend $10,000 on a Gucci bag, you end up with a Gucci bag. Now, what he's saying is this: you can be trained off the cuff. Listen, first off, every college degree is bullshit, because what happens, you go to a job and they want to know that you can apply yourself to a regimented situation. That's all it is. They're going to teach you their way. They're going to teach you their way. Your college degree don't mean nothing, but you have to have the degree first. Yeah. Because once you have the degree, here's what happens. He's oh boy, he's got a degree in marketing. How do you get a better price for what you're marketing? If it's capital, I'll tell you what. If I go to Singapore, I'm only going to pay $10 for a Gucci bag. Why? Because there's no guarantee it's a Gucci bag. But if I go to the freaking Gucci store in New York City, I'll pay the $10 plus $9,099 more, because it's guaranteed to be a Gucci bag. So you go, you get your education. You show the world that you can be taught. and then you apply that ability in your life. So he's saying, look, if your daughter wants to make more money as a dog trainer, you can do it with a certificate on the wall a lot quicker than just word of mouth any day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also gives you more room to grow, because as you get into managerial positions and director boards and shit, it becomes a liability. Because if shit does happen, you know what I mean? It's like, why is Chrissy there? Well, because Chrissy has her fucking paperwork that says that she should be there. You know what I mean?
Number one benefit, the number one benefit, and the only most important benefit to any of this discussion is that it gives you the ability to demand more money up front before they know a damn thing. See, the person that don't have a degree, they come in, they got an ad in the paper. They're going to pay you $30 an hour to train a dog. You show up and you ain't got no degree. They say, you know what? You seem like you might know what you're doing, but without a degree, we're only going to be willing to pay you 20. But if you do a good job in 3 months, we'll kick you up to the regular salary. The other guy comes in with a degree and maybe a letter of reference from a couple dog owners, and they say, you know what? I'm not going to settle for.
Yep.
Yeah, you raise your ability to negotiate. And see, that's what, when we get back down to it, the reality of it is we need to, in our lives, black, white, I don't care what color you are, our main job, and this is the fucking whole thing in a nutshell that Americans have lost, is that our job as parents is to equip our children to go into the world and be able to survive without not only depending on us, but not on depending on the federal government, because you can't depend on them. You have to raise them to be independent. You have to raise them to be free thinkers.
Yep.
That's the number one responsibility. You have to equip them for survival in the world.
Yeah. And see, we're that's us. We're conservative parents. You're living in our household, even though you're 20 years old, you're still going to, I mean, we let her go and do things. It ain't like we keep her in the wrapping key, but but my husband, he's still like, no, you ain't going to go out and you ain't going to run around. You ain't going to do this, this, and this, but, the other night she's like, and her boyfriend's like an hour and a half away. And she's like, the boyfriend was wanting to know if I could spend the night. Now here's how we are. Now, if you're going to go to the beach with his family or something, yeah, fine. You can go, whatever. But, cause the whole family's together. And I'm sorry, some of y'all might be like, God, they're too strict. Oh my God. But I don't care. But you living under this house, that's our rules, whatever. So, and I'm like, no, Daddy ain't gonna go for that. And I'm more lenient than he is, but I'm old school. I go by the man of the house, and everybody's gonna say, oh my God, no, we make decisions together, but he's still the man of the house, but we do make decisions together and we talk about things.
Yeah, but wait, though. I want to get back. Because we're actually, I love what you're telling me, but what do you do when you're dealing with a family, right, where the man of the house is actually 13 years old? His mother had him when she was 14. There ain't no man in the house. The man in the house is this month's flavor until next month when she talks bad about every man that's ever come into her life. See, we can't. This is what I was saying earlier. We really, even though it's almost impossible, have to try to think from the perspective of the people that we're talking to, and most people have failed to do that. Most of us are failing. That's what communication is. Empathy is the ability to relate to a person because you try to put themselves in their position. We cannot, and this is the way I think, and I might be wrong, but we will not be successful if we try to get them to project into the way we think. We're trying to get them to, first off, no. I know how I think already. I want to understand where they're coming from, because the only way I can talk to you is if I got to know where you're coming from first. So if you're coming from an environment, right, that had no father figure in it, like mine, it's a perfect example, right? When you start talking about father figures, the only father figures I can relate to are all those sitcom sons of bitches. The good ones, the fake ones, like Mr. Huxtable. Right now we find out Mr. Huxtable likes to drop drugs in women's drinks. But when we were watching him as a father, we had a perfect example. We watch all these. Here's
I
the
know they
deal.
found out that was
don't know
false,
what
right?
degenerate behavior that 1960s fathers had, but I did know one thing, that when I tuned into a program about Leave It to Beaver, every single time there was a moral message that I wasn't getting in my home because my mom and my dad, they didn't even live together. So but nowadays we don't even have a good representation of fatherhood, even in the fantasies that we have on TV.
So
we don't.
Okay.
We got three.
So
Three out of 5 women in this country are sexually abused by a man in their family who was in a position of power influence, and it doesn't matter what color you are. Black, white, the statistics, they go across all lines. Okay. And so, like, old boy was talking about PTSD. How, like that, I don't care if you're white, black, who you are. How do you live the rest of your life? Because that's exactly what you live with after you have a traumatic childhood event, is that you actually are expected to live for the rest of your life as a sane human being when you went through insane shit. We have a nation filled with people who were never in the military and yet actually suffer some form of post-traumatic stress. Guess what that is? That's life. See, right now, everybody, oh my God, guess what? That's life. Men and women, human beings have always suffered from post-traumatic stress at a time where we have the highest, so quote, level of psychological understanding in the world. We have the highest degree of PTSD. You would think that at the highest degree of understanding of psychology that we would have a lowest level of PTSD, but we don't, because PTSD is the natural state. It's what defines us as human beings, is how we react to things in our life, whether they're positive or they're negative. They build us up to who we are. That's why we were talking about earlier. If you live in a society where you constantly see the other side getting the sweet fruit while you're getting the bitter one, guess what? You're going to have a fucking problem with that. It's natural. And guess what? Everyone should have a problem with that. The biggest problem that we have in this country is that everybody wants someone to cater to their own personal desires or what. Like, okay, if I was LGBTQ, all of a sudden I would expect everyone to cater to me. And that's not the way it works. It's what's best for everyone. And everybody wants what's good for them, and they don't give a shit what's good for the next guy.
It's called instant gratification.
Well,
it's called selfishness.
I know, but that's I'm just explaining. That's what it is.
So this dog trainer, she has set rates depending on what breed and what trouble she has with them, and so she has set rates, and and that's what she goes by. And so my daughter's going to shadow her, so it's kind of be like an apprenticeship, and that's a good thing. So
let me help you out with this. I like shark tanking with people on stuff. So because I help
Shark
counsel.
Tank's all right.
So I like help counseling and starting over new for a business. Okay. The best thing you can do is, first of all, you have your daughter.
I'm still here. I'm just pissing outside my truck.
Okay.
All right.
So my daughter.
So you can have your daughter start shadowing, right?
Yeah.
And as she does that, what you want to do is listen. Any money that you get, that she gets, she needs to put down on an LLC. Okay.
Yeah.
So once she starts doing that, she needs to start getting a little business card and saying, "Listen, I can dog sit, trim, wash, and do stuff." In other words, she needs to start learning on what can she do to cater and actually start up stuff. Like say, hey, I personally I can personally drive to y'all, and I can cater to your dog, like a little grooming, a personal driving grooming thing. Or I can dog sit your dog. You know what I'm saying? For these set prices, I can help them do this if they got any pills. Once she starts doing that, now she's creating her own doggone identity of a dog watcher.
Well, see, she actually has a good identity now because, like I said, she works at a local dog kennel. It's called Lucky Bones Dog Daycare. So she already has a lot of dog clientele who come in there and know her. So that when she gets that, so
so now that she already has that and she already visually knows, but she's already got a step ahead, but she's been shadowing and she's also been seeing the network. She can also, whenever she gives them stuff, she can say, listen, if you need somebody to help you clip the dog's nails or wash them, or pretty much if you got to go out of town for business, here, call me, call Christie's Angels. We can come here, we can come get your dog, we can make sure that they're taken care of, depending on the weight, size, and this stuff. Now she's branching out and started. You see what I'm saying? She's now making her own. She already has her identity in a sense, but they visualize her with that business. But when she starts actually handing out, when you hand out a card or some type of identification of who you are, and cards are very cheap. The thing about it is called investing in yourself. And this is why I'm for, if it was up to me, I would definitely implement trade school or individual entrepreneurship back into schools, where they start teaching you business economics. They start teaching you currency and stuff that we as civilians, and see, this is where communities in different positions of the country started having issues, because back then we used to have it where, guess what? You weren't depending on corporate to be able to have a successful job. You weren't depending on a doggone institutionalized college or pharmaceutical to be able to provide for your family. But you didn't have to go to Walmart. And see, the thing about it, Walmart purposely makes sure that they can hire doggone lower income people to work for them and shop, buy, and sell EBT. And it's a circulating money. So really, they never actually spend their money, but they recirculate their money back into the metropolis of Walmart and other big businesses like McDonald's and stuff. That's why McDonald's purposely hires kids, because they understand that guess what? I can hire you. You can work here for a few hours because I know she has to go home and take care of her kids. So you fill in for her on school nights while she's taking care of her kids, make sure her kids do her homework. It's a game. It's a game that they play. And the thing about it is, there's no reason. So this is why when people, this is why.
Yeah, but Joe, but here's the thing though, bro, because now you're doing a double standard, because
that's not a double standard.
Yes, it is, because at the same time, you want to bitch about the fact that minimum wage going up $15, $16.
Well, here's the thing about it. Let's look at that. We're gonna. The reason why I say that, and I voted against minimum wage because I'm a business owner. I bitched about it because I said I understood it, because I understood that if minimum wage goes up, as me, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I understand this. When minimum wage goes up, I will be required to have to pay my workers that at the minimum level. Okay? So guess what? I'm going to eat before everyone else eats. Christie's Angels, if she only has 3 workers, but she only pulls in about, let's say, $1,100 every 2 weeks. Okay? Guess what? She can't realistically afford her workers, plus also the overhead costs of the business, the supplies, the gas, the insurance, all that stuff. She can't realistically, I can't afford you guys. So the other 3 workers, I got to let y'all go, and it's going to have to be down to me and 1 other worker. So guess what? That's 2 people who can't eat. So when we say, oh, let's raise the bar for minimum wage, guess what? Big Boy Giant doesn't get affected by that. Why? Because Big Boy Giant is already at the top. It's like him just pissing out more money.
Yeah, you can't have
the dollar menu will no longer just be the dollar menu. It's going to probably be the $3 fucking menu at that point.
Yep.
Well, then get it on then.
So hold on.
It's already the $3 menu.
So hold on now. So because back then, I remember you used to go to the grocery store. If your grandma or your mom or your dad gave you $20, you were filling that buggy half up off of $20. Well, you can't do that shit. And I'm talking about at least in the goddamn 90s, that was something that was still possible. Now, when it hit the 2000 and they were like, hey, you can go to college, 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 you can go do this. Guess what? You were giving them bullshit narrative. Why? Because guess what? We already understand that, guess what? The minute you put in affirmative action, and then guess what? The minute they did affirmative action, first of all, you were putting in an ill-equipped school that did not properly get to train those kids into a college, and you guess what you got them to do? Take on a fucking debt to something that they didn't properly understand on how to fucking do. So guess what? It would have been a lot easier if the teacher. Hold on now.
Whose fault is that, BMT?
Whose fault is it? Guess what? Guess what? If you're looking at it from a congressional position, if I pull the trade schools and if I pull the lower man hanging jobs out of the community or out of the facilitated area, guess what? The community goes to shit. So guess what it goes to? It's a dog-eat-dog world that I'm going to eat before I starve. So I'm not saying it's right, but we got to understand, man goes back to basic instinct. I'm going to rob, shoot, rape, kill, and pillage at my pleasure. I am going to sexually gratify
It's less
myself.
likely that someone, even with an unmarketable skill who's being overcharged by a college, it's very unlikely that that person, being even educated to the point that he can't even pay for it, will do that. What generally happens, and it's all the way back to what I said earlier, and you can say it's not true or not, but the more limited you are intellectually, the more apt you are to turn to the club, to turn to the gun, to turn to robbery. Okay. Like, because the mother of all necessity is starvation. Remember, you asked me earlier, you said, wouldn't you do what it takes? Well, guess what? If I was starving, okay, I'm going to admit something that most people would deny. If I was in the freaking cold wilderness of Oregon with the Donner Party and we was starving, and there was no meat to eat, I'm eating. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So everybody talks all this nonsense. What we enable stupidity, we enable servitude, because what we do is we make people dependent upon someone else. The first thing that you get from a college education is supposed to be what? Independence. Mm-hmm. The ability to make it. Now, you said something earlier that is a half truth. There are many people who have made it in this world without an education. Not even a college one, not even a fucking high school valid education. 8th and 9th grade people. But you know what they possessed? See, in this world, what's the best type of meat? Grade A. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, in this country and in this world and in this life, you got to be a grade A motherfucker. First off, you got to have the proper fucking attitude in life. So if you send your kid out in the world with a proper attitude, it doesn't matter how much ability, it doesn't matter how much motherfucking aptitude or ambition that a person has. With the wrong attitude, they're going to fail. But with the right attitude, you could lack ambition, you could lack ability. But with the ambition and the attitude, not ambition, you could lack aptitude or ability, but with ambition and the right attitude, you can still overcome your lack of aptitude or ability. But we have a country that's got people that are validated grade B, C, D, and E. There ain't a grade A motherfucker out there, because the number one A in being a grade A individual is accountability. So without accountability for the results of your choices, so you choose a degree that doesn't amount to shit and you're stuck with a debt. I'm not paying your debt, you dumb motherfucker. You made that loan. You gonna pay my loan to the loan shark when I don't pay it on Friday and the VIG goes up to 200% and they tell me that next Friday you're gonna break my leg? No, fuck you. And fuck your college degree too. Because that loan shark's gonna break my leg and that college is gonna make you pay. And your dumb ass is gonna pay because you're dumb. Dumb. You're so dumb, I gotta say it with 10 D's in the front of it so that everybody knows you're dumb as a motherfucker. And if you think I'm gonna pay for it, you're even dumber than I thought a minute ago. Because I'm not. And if the minute that they tell me I gotta pay for some other motherfucker's illegitimate college loan, that only validates how goddamn stupid and misgoddamn informed that they are. They can come to my house and put me in a fucking body bag. Fuck them. I ain't paying no college loans. I ain't paying reparations. Motherfucker, fuck you. Yo, you know the only reparations half these motherfuckers is ever gonna get? It's when they stitch up the sides of the seams on the goddamn orange trunk up in jail after they got raped. Fuck you and your reparations. I don't know a motherfucker shit. It's just dumb.
Let's get up for Keith Wills, aka Hammer.
I can't help it, man. You got me on this long. My truck overheated. My shit's stranded in the driveway. I'm 10 miles from land. Listen, in order for me to get to the store and buy a fucking gallon of milk, I gotta hike 10 miles now, damn it.
This is Harold we know.
Listen, I'm gonna take some of that shit out of my so-called meth lab, throw it in the carburetor, and I think this bitch will start. It just might run a little fast and feel a little itchy. Fuck it. No, but back to old boy made a perfect point. And you know what? I love our female guest, but you missed the whole point. Your daughter can demand whatever she wants, but she ain't gonna get it. What's gonna happen is this. You put that, here's what I suggest. This is just my observation. I'm not even giving no advice here. But if it was my kid, I'd say shadow the one motherfucker, pay the other motherfucker, and learn what they got to say. Compare the two and figure out what the right way is for yourself. But at least if you pay the one, you're going to get a piece of fucking paper at the end that, even if he was full of shit, is going to get you more money than you would get if you only shadowed the other one that ain't going to give you the piece of paper. And as far as LLC goes, before you could be a limited liability corporation, you have to declare yourself a limited liability corporation. You actually have to declare yourself as an individual, a limited liability corporation. And anybody that's going to be self-employed or in any business should do the same. And what does that do? Well, it's like this. If your daughter, God forbid, doesn't decide to get a valid education, and she decides to just let the one guy she decides just to let the one lady that told her, shadow me, be her instructor.
Yeah.
Being a limited liability corporation that is going to be in her benefit, because she doesn't have any valid papers. And if someone decides to sue her for malpractice, they can't take her house because she's a limited liability corporation. So she'll be protected from her own under education. Because no matter what that guy knows, it's never going to be worth shit compared to the guy that don't know shit but has papers. And that's the whole point that other guest was even making, was that in this world, a degree from Harvard, no matter how stupid you are, still gets you a fucking $300,000 a year job. And so if they're going to give me a degree from Harvard for free, I'm not going to be so goddamn stuck on myself that I don't say, give me that piece of paper, motherfucker. I'll put my name on that shit, and I'll be just like Obama. It don't matter what I do. They're going to swear my shit don't stink because I got this piece of paper.
Yep.
And that's all he was saying. You have to have, and that's the worst part about it, is you have to be validated in your invalidity. They want you to be validated in your ignorance. You got to go to college and you got to pass a class where if you're an intellectual and you're sitting in the class and then you start answering questions intellectually and then your professor gives you an F and you go, oh shit, I see how this goes. It's like a psych eval for the police department. Do you know who passes it almost 100% of the time? Psychotic motherfuckers. Because they know they're on a psych eval, so they answer the questions in a way that they would answer if it wasn't them. You get me? So you got a college professor, they're teaching you shit. You go into the world, you don't know fucking dick, but you got a piece of paper because you sat in there and you did what they said to do. You agreed with everything that they said. And so now you got a piece of paper for agreeing.
Right. Hey, y'all, it's almost 6 o'clock. So we're going to have like 4 hours. And anybody want to get the last 2 minutes on me before Joe, you got something to say before going on here?
No, I just enjoy coming over here and, support my brother.
And I appreciate you, brother, for coming on here, man.
Always. Good to see you again, likewise.
Every single person.
Likewise, man.
I love all of you guys. Thank y'all for allowing me.
I love you back, man, and thank you for your service, brother.
I love everybody.
Like I said, Christy, you my gal. I'll see y'all guys.
All right, I'm about to stop the broadcast, y'all, and much love, everybody. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, hold on.